identify a point of ingress to unleash a tempestuous assault that would scatter the turmoil. This strategy would maximize the preservation of his own forces while dismantling the goblin horde. From his vantage point below, the battlefield appeared to be in disarray. With the skirmish at the southern gate still ongoing, the city guards remained steadfast, enduring the onslaught of goblin attacks while desperately attempting to repair the gate. Both sides had entered a stalemate. A mere glance was sufficient for Lu Yu to disregard the situation at the southern gate. It was evident that the fiercest battle was not there, but rather at the northern gate, which was much closer to him. The northern gate was vast, and 60,000 goblins poured into the city unimpeded, only to be met with fierce resistance midway. Li Wei and Du Guohua stood side by side, their armor stained with the viscous, greenish blood of their foes. Director Li, have you managed to contact that lad Lu Yu? Why hasn't he arrived yet? Li Wei replied, I have reached out. But the high-ranking officials of the Abyss Lord have all gone offline. Offline. Now is precisely when we need him. No matter how many goblins we slay. They will respawn in 8 hours, Du Guohua remarked. In this situation, only his unique abilities can provide a solution. Chapter 292. Entering from the rear this one do. I'll have Sun Ruekong check on their whereabouts. Even if there are pressing matters offline, they must be urged to postpone, Du Guohua said, preparing to contact Sun Ruekong. However, Li Wei stopped him, saying, no need, he is already on his way. Where is he? Du Guohua inquired. Li Wei pointed to the black-headed eagle circling above. That creature is surveying the entire battlefield. Seeing the black-headed eagle, Du Guohua sighed in relief. They were quite familiar with Lu Yu, and this eagle was nearly his emblem. After all, within the entirety of the abyssal human faction, no one else possessed a level 60 flying pet. Utilizing the eagle's vantage point, Lu Yu scrutinized the situation at the northern gate, quickly realizing that matters were far more manageable than he had anticipated. The 3 legions stationed there were all oriented towards the Lord's manor, leaving their rear completely unguarded. Moreover, due to the interference from players such as the Huan Alliance and the Champion Alliance, the vanguard of the 60,000 goblins had become ensnared within the alleyways of Lingfeng City. This consequently results in the vast majority of goblins being unable to advance, clustering directly at the city gates. There is no need to seek insertion points or breakthroughs. A direct assault from behind is all that is required. In the face of confrontation, Lu Yu must also contemplate utilizing mermaids to breach the goblin defenses. However, the number of mermaids at his disposal is limited, and the Soul Howl can only cover an area equivalent to a single, yet insufficient, legion. The opposing force comprises 3 elite legions totaling 60,000 soldiers, and the Soul Howl can only create 1 opening. With 40,000 spectral warriors facing 60,000 goblin warriors, the disparity in levels is minimal, leaving Lu Yu without absolute certainty of victory. Now, however, previous concerns have dissipated. As long as the players in the front can hold their ground, he can penetrate from the rear, easily encircling and annihilating the 60,000 goblins. To avoid alarming the enemy, Lu Yu refrains from summoning the Spectral Legion immediately, planning instead to wait until he approaches the goblin forces. Yet, one perplexing detail lingers in Lu Yu's mind. How could an elite legion make such a critical error? On enemy territory, players would be lurking in the surrounding woods and mountains. Yet, these goblins seem inexplicably oblivious, failing to leave any defensive forces in the rear. Not even a necessary watch. Is it because they view their existence as mere projections, rendering their demise inconsequential? Meanwhile, outside the northern gate, Mao rides alongside a young goblin, the very one who had been trailing him moments ago. The assault on the northern gate proceeds smoothly, yet, as he had anticipated, the legion becomes mired in difficulty following the breach. Although the 3 legions continue to advance, their pace resembles that of a tortoise. Messengers gallop back and forth, relaying updates from the front. A resistance faction of approximately 10,000 humans has emerged, obstructing the legion's path, and the vanguard is engaged in clearing them out. A second resistance faction of 30,000 has appeared, combining forces to thwart the vanguard's progress. Additionally, a substantial number of players are returning to the city, forcing the legion into street battles with the humans. Mao listens to each report, nodding without altering his strategy. In truth, Lingfeng City is sufficiently expansive. While vertical maneuvers may be hindered, a horizontal spread of the battlefield would allow all 60,000 goblins to engage fully. Such a scenario would undoubtedly be more manageable than the current situation. Nevertheless, Mao issues no such directives, commanding instead that the legion concentrate all efforts on seizing the central thoroughfare of Lingfeng City, driving straight for the Lord's mansion. In his eyes, it seems as though only the Lord's mansion holds significance. He is indifferent to casualty numbers. His singular objective is the Lord's mansion. The goblin legions grow increasingly frenzied. Yet their entanglement in street warfare prevents them from leveraging the advantages of organized combat. Moreover, the number of players vastly exceeds their own. It is solely due to their elevated levels that they can currently match the players in combat. However, if this continues, the goblins will inevitably face complete annihilation. While the losses on the players' side will remain negligible, as they fight within the city, with a spring of water at their backs. Players are not fools. They do not await death to revive at the spring, but instead hasten to replenish their health as soon as it dips below half. In fact, their numbers are overwhelming. Those who have returned to the spring promptly reinforce the front lines, and the ones whose health is critically low are continually replaced by others advancing forward. This cycle persists unceasingly, effectively stalling the goblin horde in place. The messenger continues to relay updates on the battle, yet Mao appears oblivious to the reports. They have accomplished a significant objective in their operational plan by managing to open the northern gate. Capturing the Lord's manor, however, seems nearly impossible, and Mao does not press the issue. Instead, he begins to survey his surroundings, not the battlefield itself, but the circumstances beyond it. This siege of Lingfeng City is undertaken with a special mission. Finally, when he raises his gaze once more, he spots a black-headed eagle soaring overhead. The eagle circles the southern gate before returning to the northern gate, where it begins to hover incessantly. A slight smile graces Mao's lips as he watches the majestic creature. He awaits a summoning beast akin to the black-headed eagle. He turns to a young goblin beside him and instructs, "The clear wine has arrived, please inform them." The young goblin nods and retrieves a specially crafted scroll from his pack. As he tears the scroll, the goblin vanishes from sight. In the meantime, Lu Yu, charging toward the northern gate, observes two figures outside the city gate. Judging by their attire, the notably more robust goblin is likely a legion commander, possibly even holding a rank superior to the usual commanders. The young goblin accompanying him resembles a centurion or a captain, perhaps even a personal guard to the commander. As Lu Yu assesses their identities, he suddenly sees the young goblin producing a scroll. Is that a return scroll? How could a projection possess a return scroll? In the next moment, the scroll shatters, and the young goblin disappears. A sense of unease washes over Lu Yu. This young goblin cannot be merely a projection. It must be a genuine goblin. Why would it depart at this moment? And where could it possibly be heading? Intuition warns Lu Yu that this is a conspiracy. Just as he prepares to halt his advance for further observation, a throng of goblins materializes beside him, revealing no less than 7 legions from an aerial perspective. Chapter 293. Tianluan Self-Detonation. Mao serves as the commander of 10 legions. However, during the assault on the northern gate, only 3 legions have made their presence known. The remaining 7 legions are awaiting the clear wine. The goblins are acutely aware that unless they first eliminate the clear wine, capturing Lingfeng City will be an impossible task. Instead, they risk allowing the clear wine to eradicate goblin legion projections, thereby growing in strength. In response to the Abyss Summoner, each race has devised its own strategies. The method employed by the Shadow Clan is the most thorough. They have inherited a skill capable of obliterating summoned beasts. However, this skill possesses a unique characteristic. It can be wielded by only a single individual. Conversely, the goblins have adopted a more straightforward approach, relying on sheer numerical superiority to overwhelm their foes. As long as the number of my legions exceeds that of the enemy, even when accounting for the ebb and flow of battle, the adversary is destined to succumb to a relentless onslaught. Moreover, Mao has yet to provide Lu Yu with the time needed for summoning. The moment 7 legions emerged, they immediately targeted Lu Yu. The nearest combatant thrust forth their spear, and Lu Yu felt a surge of foreboding. He attempted to evade, but amidst the throng of warriors, there was little room to maneuver. Damaged figures erupted above his head, and his health plummeted dangerously low. In a frantic bid for survival, he cast a healing spell upon himself, restoring his condition. Surrounded by goblins, the confined space hindered any substantial summoning of beasts. Additionally, against such a dense throng of enemies, summoning would likely result in immediate assault from multiple goblins. Though the goblins' levels were generally below 70, their overwhelming numbers were a formidable force. Gritting his teeth, Lu Yu summoned 50 mermaids into the air. In such dire circumstances, he could only hope to inflict 1,000 points of damage upon the enemy while incurring the same upon himself. He desperately wished to recover from the soul-shattering state before the surrounding goblin legion. As the mermaids descended, their piercing cries resonated throughout the area, momentarily halting the attacking goblins, who displayed expressions of profound agony. They dropped their weapons, clutching their heads and writhing in torment upon the ground. Lu Yu was not faring much better. He too collapsed, shielding his head with his hands in an effort to remain conscious. Yet, the damage inflicted upon the soul could not be merely resisted through willpower. Positioned at the epicenter of the soul-shattering effect, Lu Yu felt as though his very essence was being kneaded like malleable clay, torn apart, and then reformed. This sensation nearly caused him to faint, but suddenly, the soul-shattering cries ceased. Xueli, perceiving that Lu Yu was on the brink of collapse, could not bear to witness her master's unconsciousness, despite the command to instill terror in the enemy. The cessation of the soul-shattering cries granted Lu Yu a sense of relief, his awareness swiftly returning. He realized he was still ensnared within the enemy's formidable encirclement. Although the agony of his soul's disintegration persisted, he steeled himself and summoned Tianluan. Lu Yu was acutely aware that his immediate objective was not to break through. Surrounded by over 100,000 goblins, he could not summon his beasts on a large scale and thus escape. The range of the mermaid skill could only cover around 20,000 goblins. Most of the goblins on the periphery remained spirited and eager for battle. Even if Lu Yu managed to force his way a certain distance, he would still be engulfed by the relentless tide of goblins. His current task was to carve out a safe space amidst the goblin horde, allowing him to summon the Nether Legion and establish a defensive position. Lu Yu had no desire to perish, not only because he was currently marked as a notorious player, where death would cause a direct drop to level 0, but also due to the fact that his respawn point was at the fountain in the Alliance City. Upon death, he would be forced to return there, taking over an hour to arrive. While Lingfeng City might withstand an hour under the siege of 3 legions, it was uncertain if it could endure 10. Although Lu Yu was not fond of Song Qingyan, he recognized that Lingfeng City was the foremost second-tier stronghold of the human race, and it must not be lost. As Tianluan appeared, he leaped high into the air. Lu Yu had commanded him to clear a clean area at all costs, though he did not explicitly state how. Tianluan understood Lu Yu's intent. Back when Lu Yu was in the dwarven city of Jinchang, the city's lord had ultimately unleashed a self-destructive skill, sacrificing his life to create a shockwave that wiped out a vast expanse of summoned beasts. Now, Tianluan was prepared to employ a similar technique. His form gradually diminished in Lu Yu's vision, while the hammer in his grasp began to swell in size. Once both man and hammer reached their zenith, Tianluan let out a mighty roar, crashing down with both his body and weapon. In that moment, he seemed to merge with the hammer, no longer a dwarf but the very handle of a colossal mallet. Lu Yu felt a gust of wind rush from above and looked up to see what appeared to be a massive fireball descending. Without needing to ponder too deeply, he could discern the horrifying power contained within this fiery sphere. Tianluan's skill was even more ferocious than that of the Lord of Jinchang. The fireball grew larger in Lu Yu's eyes, and he found himself positioned at its very center. Yet, he felt no fear, for his summoned beasts could not harm him. At that moment, the goblins surrounding Lu Yu had not yet emerged from the negative state following their soul's demise. They remained sprawled on the ground, reeling from the aftermath of soul-rending sensations. Soon, they began to sense the searing heat above them. At last, one goblin struggled to lift its head, eager to discover what was occurring. The instant it looked up, its pupils widened in terror as it beheld a sun-like fireball hurtling towards it. It attempted to open its mouth to scream, but the scorching flames and searing shockwave quickly overwhelmed it. As the formidable Tianshu and the colossal hammer struck down, the goblins surrounding Lu Yu were reduced to a gruesome amalgamation of flesh and blood. Yet, this devastation was not the end. Waves of energy reverberated, inflicting layers of damage that erupted from above the goblins in the distance. Just as they had recovered from the state of death, the goblins fell like harvested wheat, collapsing in mass. A vacuum was created within a 100-meter radius of Lu Yu. Observing this terrifying strike, Lu Yu could not help but marvel inwardly. Fortunately, during the assault on the Steel City, he had not allowed Tianshu to unleash this devastating technique. Otherwise, the Goblin Legion in his command would have been utterly annihilated. As the dust settled, Lu Yu's expression turned grave. Tianshu was conspicuously absent from the cloud of debris, and likewise, there was no trace of him in the summoning space. The system notification chimed. Your summoned beast, Tianshu, has perished completely and cannot return to the summoning space. Taken aback by this notification, Lu Yu was initially stunned. He had believed that such a self-destructive skill would result in the demise of the summoned beast only once, after which it would return to the summoning space, ready to be called forth again after 4 hours. Having witnessed the sheer power of this ability, Lu Yu regretted not recognizing Tianshu's potential sooner. However, the finality of Tianshu's death left him engulfed in a whirlwind of emotions. All that remained of his second-tier summoned beasts was Sun Tianhua, who was far away at Sun Hanyu's home. Yet, Lu Yu had never regarded Sun Tianhua as his summoned beast. In essence, his top-tier combat strength had been entirely sacrificed. Taking a deep breath, Lu Yu understood that this was not the time for sorrow, nor did he have the luxury to lament his decision to allow Tianshu to self-destruct. Had it not been for Tianshu's sacrifice, this expansive area would not exist. He had to seize this opportunity to occupy the newly created space. With a swift gesture of his hand, countless spectral warriors materialized. In the confined space, the spectral cavalry could not effectively charge. Lu Yu summoned heavily armored shield warriors to the front line and a plethora of priests to the rear. His objective was not to inflict damage but to establish a defensive stronghold first. The goblins, still reeling from the earlier cataclysmic strike, finally reacted upon witnessing the sudden emergence of the spectral warriors. They pointed their spears once more at Lu Yu, but this time, he was accompanied by thousands of spectral warriors. During the goblins' moment of confusion, Lu Yu had already constructed his defensive formation. The frontline shield warriors blocked the goblins' advance. The priests in the middle provided healing and supportive roles enhanced statuses, while the rear was occupied by mages and archers ready to unleash their firepower. Coupled with the augmentation from Lu Yu's war horn, the goblin horde found it exceedingly difficult to advance. In the distance, Mao's countenance darkened considerably upon witnessing this scene. The establishment of the defensive formation by the Qing Jiu team signified that the challenge of defeating him would increase exponentially. Moreover, the Goblin Legion continues to suffer attrition. The diminishing numbers of the goblin forces signify the gradual strengthening of Lu Yu's prowess. The territory Lu Yu occupies is modest, sufficient to accommodate a considerable number of summoned beasts while constricting the goblin's offensive capabilities. After all, the range of attack against the summoned creatures is limited. Although it appears that there are 140,000 goblins, in reality, only around 20,000 to 30,000 near the defensive formation can inflict harm on the summoned beasts. The majority of the goblins are relegated to mere substitutes. The battle has reached a stalemate. The summoned beasts have not been without casualties. Rather, they have suffered significant losses. The first batch of summoned creatures has long since perished, and the second batch is nearly decimated. Nevertheless, the defensive formation remains intact. As Lu Yu still has a sufficient number of summoned beasts at his disposal, Mao remained silent, astonished that Lu Yu could establish a flawless defensive configuration in such a short span of time. It is essential to understand that constructing a defensive formation is not merely a matter of idle talk or superficial contemplation. The commander must possess the capability to lead a legion. Judging by the reactions of Lu Yu's summoned beasts, it is evident that his commander not only possesses tactical acumen, but also extensive battlefield experience. Wasn't it reported that all the summoned beasts with commanding ability in Lu Yu's possession had perished? How could he establish multiple lines of defense in such a brief period? Surely, it could not be that Qin Shu was personally directing the efforts? A human who has just entered the abyss, who hasn't truly immersed himself in it, cannot possibly possess such capabilities. Little did Mao know that for Lu Yu, he was not merely a novice in the abyss, nor was it his first time commanding vast armies. In the past, Lu Yu even had his own domain. A messenger rushed to Mao's side. "Commander, the siege legion has suffered setbacks and is forced to retreat." "What?" Mao thought he misheard. "The siege has met with setbacks? We launched simultaneous assaults on 3 secondary human strongholds. How could they have reinforcements?" "Commander, it's not reinforcements, it's the players." "Players? Those who haven't even undergone their first-class transition?" "Indeed, a formidable priest has emerged among them, rendering us incapable of inflicting effective damage." Mao's chest heaved as he recalled how smooth the initial assault on the city gate had been, contrasted sharply with the current predicament. He realized he could no longer afford to delay. He must either devise a strategy to eliminate Qin Shu entirely or abandon that pursuit and focus on demolishing the Lord's mansion. However, with Qin Shu commanding tens of thousands of summoned beasts, relinquishing the encirclement would undoubtedly expose him to a two-pronged assault. "Has Lord Minghun not yet arrived?" "Commander, we are unable to establish contact with Lord Minghun, but based on the timing, he should be arriving soon." "Very well, waiting for him is no longer an option. The inability to communicate instantaneously between the essence and its projection renders cooperation exceedingly arduous. The achievements thus far are already remarkable. Relay my commands. Each legion shall dispatch their most elite mages and archers to replace the goblin soldiers encircling the clear wine." "Commander, if we proceed this way, we will lack warriors to absorb damage, resulting in significant casualties. I care not for the losses. I demand the demise of clear wine, unequivocally. My singular requirement is to impose a comprehensive barrage upon clear wine. Even if all mages and archers perish, they must unleash a fireball spell before their final breaths." Regarding this abyss summoner, Mao harbors his own perspective. The elevation of clear wine must be curtailed at all costs. Should clear wine successfully undergo a second transformation, it would spell catastrophe. Thus, even though this desperate strategy may result in the loss of more goblins and further augment Lu Yu's summoned beasts, it is imperative to stifle clear wine's progression. Mao's orders cascaded down, igniting a frenzy of movement within the Goblin Legion. The black-headed eagle soared above, surveying the battlefield. While Lu Yu swiftly discerned Mao's intentions, this realization filled him with profound dismay. If the goblins continued their war of attrition, he would harbor no concerns. In a battle of endurance, who could rival an abyss summoner? However, the adversary's current resolve to fight fiercely posed a genuine threat to Lu Yu's safety. He cast his gaze upon the solitary figure standing apart from the legion, a man and his steed, evoking memories of Mo Du, another commander who had once caused him considerable distress. Chapter 295, Clear Wine has perished. After acquiring Mo Du, Lu Yu was relentlessly pursued by the son of the underworld, fleeing for his life and unable to showcase the talents of the Mo family's shield. Now, upon witnessing Mao, Lu Yu could not suppress the desire to subjugate him. Presently, he lacked even a high-level summoner with commanding abilities, a dire need for reinforcement. Nonetheless, the immediate priority remained addressing the looming troubles. In truth, Lu Yu's chat notifications had already inundated his screen. Those defending against the goblins within the city, such as Wu Shiwu, Rumeng Jiangnan, Du Guohua, and Li Wei, sought to synchronize with Lu Yu in real time to facilitate a cohesive strategy. However, Lu Yu had neither the time nor the mental bandwidth to respond. He had to devote himself entirely to the unfolding situation. Even before Mao issued the command for full offensive, Lu Yu found himself exerting considerable effort. Every second saw dozens, if not hundreds, of underworld warriors falling, and Lu Yu had to incessantly summon new warriors to fill the void. He also had to constantly monitor changes in the Goblin Legion's formation, adjusting his own defensive posture accordingly. Lu Yu was thus able to anticipate the goblins' desperate maneuvers. and he noted that the number of warriors besieging him was dwindling. Mao would not be foolish enough to withdraw the frontline warriors before supplementing them with mages and archers. Such an action would only grant Lu Yu greater freedom of movement, allowing him to summon an even larger number of summoned beasts. Instead, he commanded the frontline warriors to initiate a death charge, hastening the demise of the ineffective goblins. Among the goblins that followed, none donned armor or wielded spears or swords. They were mages and archers, brandishing staves and bows. This was undoubtedly a suicidal maneuver, and their status as projections would not afford them the chance of resurrection, for their adversary was Qingjiu. Nevertheless, the consequences of this suicide were starkly evident, as their defense transformed entirely into offense. A multitude of goblins fell before they even reached the edge of the defensive position. In accordance with Mao's military orders, they hurled their final fireball toward Lu Yu's defenses before succumbing to death. The rate of casualties among the spectral warriors began to surge, within less than a minute. The fatalities among the frontline shield warriors had already surpassed the earlier total. Soon, the spectral shield warriors were nearly annihilated, compelling Lu Yu to summon the frontline goblins to continue absorbing damage. These goblins, already inferior in overall combat power to the spectral race, dissipated at an alarming rate. In no time, Lu Yu's summoning space was devoid of any frontline units, and even the spectral cavalry had perished. In their stead, a vast number of goblin archers and mages emerged. However, regardless of their quantity, the archers and mages within Lu Yu's summoning space held little significance in the current situation. The limited space he occupied rendered it impossible to summon all of his beasts. The number of goblins capable of attacking his summoned creatures was nearly tenfold that of the summoned beasts. The worsening scenario was compounded by the inability to replenish the frontline meat shields, causing Lu Yu's defensive line to continuously compress, further diminishing his available power. Lu Yu's Divine Fire skill had long been deployed, creating a vacuum zone behind him with 3 interconnected areas of 100 by 100. No goblin could survive beyond the reach of this Divine Fire. At present, Lu Yu lacked the inclination to marvel at the skill's potency. The range of the Divine Fire barely covered one direction, while goblins continued to pour in from the other sides. If the players within the city could open a breach from the outside encirclement, Lu Yu might break free with his summoned beasts. However, the players currently lacked the strength to do so. As the goblin horde retreated within the city, the players pressed their advantage, pursuing the goblins to the city gates. This barrier, once a blockade against the goblin army's entry, had now transformed into an obstacle preventing the players from exiting the city. The gates of Lingfeng City were vast, and there were even several smaller gates. Yet, no matter how grand the city gates may be, they possess an inherent limitation. They cannot accommodate such a multitude of players simultaneously, nor can they permit so many to launch their assaults at once. The Goblin Legion steadfastly guarded the gates, significantly mitigating their losses. Although they were still incapable of inflicting substantial damage upon the players, they had finally managed to establish a foothold, curbing the players' relentless advance. The black-headed eagle conveyed this scene to Lu Yu. Originally the savior, Lu Yu now found himself in the position of the one awaiting rescue. However, he understood that he could no longer rely on external aid. With the healing arts of Dreaming Jiangnan at play, the human race appeared remarkably valiant, yet fundamentally, their strength lay in sheer numbers. At the gate stood 60,000 goblins facing off against 1,000,000 players. If the numbers were equal, even with Dreaming Jiangnan and Lantian present, it would be unlikely to stem the tide of the players' health. Lu Yu's defensive formation had been further compressed. It could no longer be termed a defensive formation, as both sides were now engaged in a fierce exchange of spells and arrows. With a disadvantage in numbers, Lu Yu was being utterly overwhelmed. He had but one final card to play. Lu Yu glanced at the little golden crow in his summoning space. It was a level 123rd transformation creature. Though afflicted by underworld poison, it would soon perish upon summoning, enduring immense suffering in the process. Nevertheless, as a third transformation beast, it still possessed the capability to carve a path for Lu Yu before succumbing to the poison. Previously, Lu Yu had hesitated to summon it, for the little golden crow was a companion of Sun Hanyu, a divine beast guarding that realm. It was fundamentally different from the underworld and goblin races. Lu Yu could unhesitatingly send countless underworld creatures to fill the pitfall traps, and even after Tianlin's recent self-detonation, he felt little sorrow. However, he wished for the little golden crow to endure no further pain. Alas, Lu Yu found himself devoid of alternatives. He knew he could not afford to die. At that moment, he was not overly concerned about being imprisoned due to his notoriety. Yet, dying once would reset his level, leaving him stripped of his equipment and inventory. "I'm sorry, but it seems you may truly suffer this time," Lu Yu murmured, raising his right hand as a rather feeble golden crow materialized before him. Though he referred to it as the little golden crow, this was merely due to having seen a larger one in that nefarious realm. In truth, a golden crow of level 120 could hardly be deemed small. Just as Lu Yu prepared to instruct the little golden crow to forge a path for him, an arrow sliced through the air, piercing directly through Lu Yu's chest. His health plummeted by half, not a rough estimate, but precisely half, down to the last decimal. Lu Yu's pupils dilated, Despite the diminishing defensive formation, he believed no archer could reach him. In a rush, he raised his staff. Then, another arrow hurtled toward him. Lu Yu had already taken precautions, his body leaning to evade the incoming arrow. Given his reflexes and the arrow's velocity, he was entirely capable of dodging it. However, as Lu Yu turned, the arrow also adjusted its trajectory. Thud! The arrow pierced through his chest once more, reducing Lu Yu's life points to 0. Chapter 296. The feathered arrow. Lu Yu's figure gradually dissipated, transforming into a beam of light that soared towards the spring of the Unity camp. Just before his demise, a healing spell had already been cast upon the little golden crow. Its severely depleted health was instantly restored, and it emitted a sharp cry as it beheld Lu Yu's vanishing form. Prior to being tamed by Lu Yu, it had developed a faint affection for him due to Sun Hanyu. This sentiment resembled that of a sister watching a friend accompany her sibling home, familiar yet distant. However, after battling the son of the underworld in the canyon, its feelings for Lu Yu had evolved from mere recognition to genuine acknowledgement. This young man had stood up in defense of their realm during an invasion. Once it became Lu Yu's summoned creature, certain emotions reached their zenith, not merely due to a professional talent that engendered a loyalty of 100, but also due to a profound emotional bond with Lu Yu. Witnessing Lu Yu's disappearance before its eyes, the golden crow's fury peaked. Though its body continued to suffer from the affliction of the underworld poison, it seemed oblivious to the physical torment. Accompanied by its piercing cry, its form began to swell rapidly. In the distance, Mao's lips curled into a slight smirk upon seeing the first arrow pierce Lu Yu's chest. Lord Minghan had arrived. Lu Yu was undoubtedly doomed. Although some of his previous preparations had proved somewhat excessive, the elimination of Lu Yu would render it all worthwhile. Mao's smile deepened, for he was the mastermind behind this operation, and the death of Qingjiu had been orchestrated by him. However, in the next moment, Mao's smile faded. He beheld a figure engulfed in flames rapidly expanding in his view. The dazzling brilliance and intense heat emanating from this figure signified its terrifying nature. As the commander of 10 legions, Mao instantly recognized what stood before him. A golden crow, a mythical beast believed to be extinct. He would not entertain the notion that this rapidly enlarging creature was extending goodwill towards the Goblin Legion. Moreover, it appeared to be the summoned beast that Qingjiu had just conjured. Remarkably, Qingjiu possessed another third-tier summoned creature. Yet, why hadn't he summoned it earlier? A confrontation between the 7 Goblin Legions and the Golden Crow would likely yield unfavorable results. Nevertheless, Mao quickly discerned the underlying issue. The Golden Crow's body was wreathed in tendrils of dark mist, and upon observing its swiftly diminishing health bar, underworld poison, Mao instantly grasped the reason behind it. The reason Shoshu did not summon the Golden Crow from the outset was that this particular Golden Crow had been afflicted by the phantom poison and could barely survive for a few seconds. However, judging by the current demeanor of the Golden Crow, it was evidently intent on incinerating the entire Goblin army within those fleeting moments. Moreover, Mao's instincts hinted that this Golden Crow truly possessed the potential to annihilate the Goblin horde. In less than 5 seconds, one entire legion had already been consumed by flames. This could not continue. If the Golden Crow indeed succeeded in incinerating the entire army, the experience gained would be more than sufficient for Shoshu to ascend back to level 65, if not beyond. Yet, in such a brief span of time, Mao found himself unable to intervene. As a level 95 projection, although his rank surpassed that of an ordinary legion commander, he was still leagues away from the 3rd transmutation. In the tense seconds of Mao's anxious contemplation, the flames of the Golden Crow once again engulfed another Goblin Legion. Initially, a single skill from the Phantom Sun could effortlessly dispatch thousands of summoned beasts belonging to Lu Yu. The Golden Crow, being at the same 3rd transmutation level, was not lacking in large-scale area skills. In the blink of an eye, the 3rd Legion was also consumed by the flames. The Goblin army was desperately attempting to scatter in all directions, yet their speed paled in comparison to the expansion of the Golden Crow's flames. Just as the flames were about to engulf the 4th Goblin Legion, a feathered arrow soared through the air, striking the Golden Crow's heart directly. The damage displayed was still in percentage form, resulting in a staggering 30 reduction in its health. This brought its already diminished vitality perilously close to depletion. The Golden Crow emitted a mournful wail, and the intensity of the flames surged, swiftly consuming the 4th Goblin Legion. Just as the flames were about to engulf the 5th Legion, yet another feathered arrow shot forth. The expansion of the flames upon the Golden Crow came to an abrupt halt. Its massive form began to dissipate, ultimately transforming into a wisp of golden light that soared towards the direction of the Unity Fort. Lu Yu awoke from the spring. This marked his 2nd resurrection in the waters. The last time had been in the small spring located in the old village chief's courtyard. The equipment he possessed was reduced to merely 2 bound emblems and 2 celestial artifacts. The Wind Cloak and the Radiant Sun Scepter were remnants left by the Golden Crow, seemingly possessing some indestructible attributes. As for the rest of his gear, including the contents of his backpack, everything had been thoroughly stripped away. His level had reverted to 0. Lu Yu couldn't help but let out a bitter smile, pondering why he had to start anew at level 0 each time he perished. Although most of his strength did not rely on his level, The sensation of painstakingly climbing to over 60 only to fall back to square one overnight was hardly pleasant. However, Lu Yu soon discerned that something was amiss. Upon his resurrection, his experience points surged dramatically, ascending from level 0 to 20, then to 30, 40, 50, and finally reaching 60, at which point the growth of experience ceased. Subsequently, a multitude of radiant beams soared from the distance, entering Lu Yu's summoning space. Ultimately, the most resplendent beam returned to the summoning realm. Observing the slumbering little golden crow within the summoning space, Lu Yu felt a pang of tenderness. He understood the reason for his rapid level advancement. The goblin legions had undoubtedly been vanquished by the little golden crow in the final moments. Exiting the summoning space, Lu Yu focused his gaze on the previous battle records. The 2 arrows were peculiar. 2 lines of combat notifications appeared before him. System prompt. You have been attacked by Minion, Abyss Archer, health points minus 50. System prompt. You have been attacked by Minion, Abyss Archer, health points minus 50. Chapter 297, Retreat of the Abyss Archer. The term Abyss occupied a significant portion of Lu Yu's field of vision. He fixated on this class, his tongue darting across his lips. An Abyss class, and moreover, one belonging to the goblin race. Each attack could drain half of his health, and the arrows possessed a built-in tracking mechanism. When the second arrow was shot, he had clearly evaded it, yet it inexplicably curved mid-air and found its target. Truly, it was the hallmark of an Abyss class, since the inception of the Abyss. And after traversing various realms for such an extended period, Lu Yu had yet to encounter any Abyss classes or items from foreign races. The only instance he had heard of was the Abyssal Poison Master that Lantian mentioned just yesterday. Today, he had finally come across one. However, this was hardly a cause for celebration. Lu Yu had already reached level 67, a mere 10 levels away from a second-class transition. Yet, he was felled by 2 arrows from the Abyss Archer. Had it not been for the desperate efforts of the Golden Crow in incinerating 4 goblin legions, Lu Yu would have had to start anew from level 0. He pondered the situation in Lingfeng City. Regardless of the fierce battles at the South Gate, the North Gate still retained the strength of at least 34 legions. If they truly disregarded everything, they could wreak considerable havoc. Lu Yu summoned his centaur and hastened toward Lingfeng City. He opened the multitude of flashing dialogue boxes. He had lacked the time to respond earlier, but now, en route, he had ample opportunity. Initially, he opened the dialogue with Shiwu, where the majority of the messages pertained to his battle circumstances and were now rendered irrelevant. Only the last few messages inquired about his status. Brother Yu, why has your level reset to 0? Have you been killed? Brother Yu, I saw a great bird explode, incinerating many goblins. Brother Yu, you've reached level 60. That great bird must be your summoned creature, resembling the legendary Golden Crow. How are you faring? Lu Yu replied. I am fine. I have revived at the spring in Jui Zhai, although I have lost a few levels and acquired some equipment. Please inform me about the current situation at the North Gate. Oh, it is good to hear you are well. Currently, these goblins have trapped us at the city gate, but we have managed to breach several openings. It shouldn't take long before we can. Oh my goodness, Brother Yu. All the goblins have suddenly vanished. So, does this mean we are retreating without knowing the outcome? Lu Yu slowed his pace. Since the goblins had retreated, he found no further need to head to Lingfeng City. However, the goblins that were aware of the projection refresh locations were rather troublesome, as no one could predict when they might reappear. This unpredictability posed a significant challenge. The goblins had retreated this time, but what would happen next? One could not remain in a state of constant readiness. After pondering for a moment, Lu Yu could not devise a suitable countermeasure. Nevertheless, it was likely that these goblins would not return in the short term, as their strategy of utilizing projections for ambushes was not without its costs. In fact, the costs were quite substantial. Their expense was Lu Yu, the Abyss Summoner. Although the goblin horde successfully destroyed the north and south gates of Lingfeng City and caused Lu Yu to drop to level 60, their price was that Lu Yu's summoned beasts had increased by 5 legions, summoning 100,000 goblins. If such occurrences were to repeat, once the racial barriers were lifted, the goblins would struggle immensely against projections similar to their own. Wusher, my equipment has fallen outside the north gate. Please check if you can find it. While the finest gear had not been lost, Lu Yu did not wish to part with the remaining items, particularly a collection of golden and dark golden artifacts. And most importantly, the Earth Artifact Ring, Qingshang. With additional attributes and effects, Qingshang could nearly rival a celestial artifact. Chunqing has long departed. She went to find you with Ru Meng when she saw your level drop to 0. Oh, please advise them to be cautious. There is an Abyss Archer among the goblins, and I suspect that individual is not a projection and has likely not yet left. Abyss Profession? I will inform Chunqing immediately. Lu Yu closed the dialogue box with Wusher and, after revealing the truth about the Abyss, found communication to be much smoother. Next came the messages from Du Guohua and Li Wei, who, at the beginning, were solely concerned, questioning why he had not logged on yet, and warning that they would be overwhelmed if he delayed further. Once Lu Yu appeared at the North Gate, the two ceased messaging. They knew that as long as Lu Yu was online, the situation was unlikely to be dire, so they refrained from sending further messages. The latest update came after Xiao Jinwu displayed remarkable prowess, at which point they noticed Lu Yu's unusual level and sent an inquiry. The issues faced by the two individuals are quite similar, as they both possess knowledge of the Abyss's truths. Lu Yu decisively formed a group to discuss the situation at the North Gate, emphasizing the existence of the Abyss Archer. Li Wei regarded this matter with utmost seriousness. It marked humanity's inaugural encounter with an alien Abyss profession. Du Guohua directly cautioned Lu Yu that this Abyss Archer might be specifically deployed to target him, advising Lu Yu to exercise extra caution. Du Guohua shared Lu Yu's perspective. An alien venturing into human territory inherently incurs substantial risks. Despite humanity's current fragility, there undoubtedly exists a threat capable of endangering his life. The adversary's willingness to risk their life to come here led Lu Yu to believe their intentions were not merely to admire the splendor of the human realm. Subsequently, Lu Yu informed both men about the establishment of the Gathering Fortress. The addition of another Level 2 main city would benefit all. As more players emerged from the novice village, the 3 Level 2 main cities felt the pressure of population growth. No one wished to venture out of the city only to endure several more hours of travel for leveling, especially since the wild resources surrounding the main city were limited. This situation could inevitably lead to disputes. Hence, the creation of another Level 2 main city would provide additional leveling grounds, allowing players to concentrate on their development. Both Li Wei and Du Guohua expressed their intention to station 1 or 2 sub-alliances in the Gathering City once their guild reached Level 3. Their main alliance would not relocate, as they had already established roots in Lingfeng City and had formed close relationships with the NPCs there. In fact, Du Guohua had purchased several plots of land in Lingfeng City with the intent of opening a potion shop. Moving to Gathering City would render those plots useless and require the rebuilding of social ties, which would be counterproductive. After all, they did not possess the advantageous conditions that Lu Yu enjoyed. With a mentor as the city lord and the Abyss Lord's presence ensuring that Lu Yu would not need to cultivate connections. Rather, the NPCs in Gathering City would seek him out. After all, with the city lord having no heirs, Lu Yu was the sole apprentice. Chapter 298. The establishment of Gathering City. Upon concluding the conversation with the two men, a message from the pure-hearted youth popped up. Big brother, all your equipment is gone. I don't know who took it, Will. Sighing, Lu Yu thought, if it's lost, so be it. Equipment can always be recovered eventually, it's no matter. Will. Lu Yu replied, I'll deal with you, you whiny creature. The pure-hearted youth's voice is truly not suited for such lamentations. Have you discussed the Abyss Archer? Yes. He even told me to be cautious. If you get the chance, try to locate this Minghun while ensuring your own safety. Alright, big brother. Once I find him, I'll take him down for daring to harm you. Do not act recklessly. Call me immediately if you discover his whereabouts. Oh, okay. The pure-hearted youth obediently agreed. Closing the final dialogue box, Lu Yu let out a deep sigh once more. The sorrow of love lingered, and with the absence of the money-making ring, the drop rate of gold coins would significantly diminish. The strength of the gold-devouring beast had yet to fully recover. Who could have taken the items? Oh, and the core of the Golden Stone secret realm. Damn. At this thought, Lu Yu's previously accepting mindset began to waver again. It was unlikely to be the projection of the Goblin Legion, as Jin Wu had already incinerated all the goblins in the vicinity. Following that, the Goblin Legion had promptly retreated, presumably unable to seize the equipment in time. Could it have been that Abyss Archer? Although Lu Yu had not seen the figure of the Abyss Archer at the time, it being an Abyss profession might endow it with some special talents. If it had truly taken the items, that would be quite vexing. Hey, I picked up some things, big shot, they must belong to you, right? A familiar voice suddenly echoed behind Lu Yu. Turning around, he beheld a figure wielding a long spear and a spatial rift that had yet to fully close behind him. Tianxia? Since their last encounter with the Underworld clan, when this individual had been sent back to the city, Lu Yu had not seen him for several days. Knowing that Hua En and Tianxia had safely returned to the human race, Lu Yu had little inclination to concern himself further, as he had his own myriad of matters to attend to. Hua and Tianxia rummaged through his backpack, producing various pieces of equipment, items, and potions. I saw your level reset to 0, so I figured you'd perished, and surely your equipment must have scattered everywhere. Your gear is quite valuable, huh? I just opened a small space to gather a few. What is this? A secret realm crystal? He continued to examine it curiously, still receiving prompts about whether to activate the secret realm. Watching him pull out item after item, Lu Yu couldn't help but chuckle. It was indeed the advantage of spatial skills. His speed of travel was simply incomparable. Wait a moment. ISNT your skill cooldown half an hour? We're barely 20 minutes since my death. The director found me an item that reduces skill cooldowns. Hua and Tianxia shrugged. Lu Yu remarked. Having an organization behind you is quite beneficial, unlike myself, who must seek out everything alone. He recalled his previous desire for a teleportation skill and a powerful single-target skill. Yet he had still not encountered either. Alright, I've returned everything to you. I'm leaving now. If you find something missing, don't come looking for me. I want to take responsibility. Lu Yu smiled. Thank you. He gathered all the items from the ground. Aside from a slight loss of gold coins, everything else was intact. Of course, Lu Yu would not suspect Hua and Tianxiao of hoarding the gold. In such circumstances, it was commendable that Hua and Tianxiao managed to recover the equipment and items. Gold coins were easily obtainable and not worth the risk to collect. Lu Yu gazed at the shimmering crystal of the secret realm. In truth, the secret realm could have been activated as soon as the deer hunting battle commenced yesterday. However, considering the implications of the battle, Lu Yu opted not to initiate it. After all, such places yield greater rewards with a larger number of entrants. Now that the deer hunting battle had concluded and the goblins had departed, it was indeed a suitable time to contemplate activation. Nevertheless, Lu Yu decided to first store away the crystal. Currently, the Golden Stone secret realm lay within the confines of Lingfeng City, which was not ideal. With the construction of Unity City nearing completion, he intended to utilize the secret realm crystal to establish an entrance near Unity City, thereby attracting a surge of visitors to it. Lu Yu nodded in satisfaction. He urged his steed to return to Unity Village, as much of the day had already passed. Unity City's construction should be nearing its final stages. The towering figure of the giant had vanished, replaced by a wall even more magnificent than before. The teleportation array and spring water had also undergone their final constructions, and shops within the city now displayed their wares. Was the city truly prepared for establishment? Lu Yu swiftly arrived at the central lord's mansion, where a multitude of individuals had gathered. To the left and right of the mansion stood Wu Tianzhu, Sun Miao, the old village chief, and Chief Farui, among others. Further ahead was the shadow assassin, Dongfang Roland. The space opposite her remained vacant, presumably reserved for someone. At the foremost position sat Sun Hanyu herself, beside her an elderly woman who was smiling and conversing with Sun Hanyu. Sun Hanyu responded with a smile of her own. Lu Yu immediately recognized the elderly woman, who stood one step lower than Sun Hanyu. Grandma Dujuan, one of the 4 executive vice lords of the first-tier main city, Baiyun City, a renowned sorceress. Her quests often demanded much, yet the rewards nearly doubled those of others. She was also the chief guardian of the west gate of Baiyun City, having repeatedly repelled foreign invaders during the siege of Lingfeng City. Lu Yu approached proactively, first greeting Sun Hanyu before bowing to Grandma Dujuan. Sun Hanyu expressed mild surprise at her apprentice's acquaintance with Grandma Dujuan, yet she happily introduced Lu Yu to her. Grandma Dujuan regarded Lu Yu with a kindly expression, saying, "I have long heard of your deeds, and hope to see you in Baiyun City soon." "I shall not disappoint your expectations," Lu Yu replied. Sun Hanyu gestured towards the space opposite Dongfang Roland, indicating that it was reserved for Lu Yu. He was somewhat taken aback, having assumed that, as a player, he would not have a designated spot. He was pleasantly surprised that his mentor had not only saved him a place, but had done so in such a prominent position. Without hesitation, he walked to the seat opposite Dongfang Roland, smiling in acknowledgement at the woman with whom he had previously clashed. Dongfang Roland curled her lips, ultimately unable to suppress a smile. "As the attendees have gathered, I, on behalf of the official Baiyun City, hereby declare the establishment of the 4th secondary main city of the human race, the Gathering City." Chapter 299, Attracting Players. System Announcement. Congratulations on the establishment of the 4th secondary main city, the Gathering City. Players who settle in this city within 24 hours will receive a 20 increase in experience from defeating wild monsters, lasting for 7 days. This announcement was broadcast 5 consecutive times, and the experience bonus is a gesture of goodwill from Baiyun City, requiring no resources from Gathering City, thereby honoring its prestige. The hall of the city lord's mansion erupted with enthusiastic applause. Lu Yu joined in the clapping, promptly adjusting his affiliations to the Gathering City. Previously, he had only bound himself to the city's spring water and, organizationally, was still considered a member of Lingfeng City. Now, with Gathering City attaining a political status equal to that of Lingfeng City, Lu Yu officially became a citizen of Gathering City. With this change in allegiance, the red name above his head vanished instantly, reverting to a normal green. Since his organizational ties had shifted to Gathering City, the bounty issued by Song Qing'in naturally became ineffective for Lu Yu. Although he might still be unable to enter Lingfeng City, he no longer needed to worry about being relentlessly pursued due to a death marked by a red name. Had Gathering City been established sooner, Lu Yu's prior death would have incurred minimal losses. However, one cannot dwell on hypotheticals. The establishment of Gathering City was remarkably swift, taking only 3 days from the initial planning to official founding, despite the wall being destroyed once during that period. This efficiency was made possible by the profound heritage of the Sun Hanyu family, with several elders mobilizing their resources to complete the necessary conditions and infrastructure in record time. Any other faction attempting to build a city would likely take months just to establish walls, springs, or teleportation arrays. The arrival of Grandma Dujuan signified the legitimacy of Gathering City, reflecting the importance and recognition bestowed upon it by a primary main city. After announcing the establishment of Gathering City, she exchanged a few casual words with Sun Hanyu before returning to Baiyun City. Sun Hanyu's gaze then turned to Lu Yu. "My dear disciple, it is your time to shine. Help your mentor attract some attention, shall we?" A 20 experience boost for 7 days would only entice those players who had recently departed from the novice village. For higher-level players, such an experience bonus would not suffice. Lu Yu took out a secret realm crystal, adjusting the entrance of the secret realm to the south gate of Gathering City, then opted to activate the secret realm. System prompt. Attention, all players, the Golden Stone Secret Realm has appeared to the south of Gathering City, with 1 hour remaining until its opening. The Secret Realm offers abundant resources, eagerly awaiting all players. The yield from the Secret Realm increases progressively with the players' levels. In the initial expedition, the most coveted yield was the Golden Grade ores, followed by the Diamond Grade. This time, it is anticipated that there will be Earth Grade and even Sky Grade ores produced. Lu Yu opened his backpack, revealing 10 ores belonging to the Secret Realm's crystal output. As expected, among them was indeed a Sky Grade ore, the Tianji Stone. A glimmer of excitement sparkled in Lu Yu's eyes. The Tianji Stone is not merely a material for crafting equipment. It is one of the versatile materials utilized in the creation of combat tools. When forging certain combat implements, specific rare materials are often required, which may not be readily obtainable. However, the Tianji Stone serves as a substitute for many of these elusive materials, providing a similar effect in instances where rare components cannot be found. Caressing his chin, Lu Yu pondered that this Golden Stone Secret Realm was worth a personal visit. Upon hearing the recent system notification, Sun Hanyu was grinning from ear to ear. He had initially thought his disciple would leverage his popularity among players to issue a system announcement to rally support. To his surprise, Lu Yu had directly transported the Golden Stone Secret Realm to the Gathering City. This outcome was far more effective than sending out a multitude of system announcements. Materials and equipment are perennial necessities for every player, and the appearance of the Golden Stone Secret Realm in Gathering City would undoubtedly attract a throng of players to settle there. Master, are the shops in our city ready? Sun Hanyu inquired. Old Sun, Old Wu, and Old Qi have long since prepared an array of potions, equipment, and skill scrolls. However, should the influx of visitors be overwhelming, our stock might prove insufficient. The wares offered by the trio's hidden side businesses were certainly not the mundane items found in ordinary shops. Furthermore, the skill scrolls crafted by the array Master Qi Furry were exceedingly rare. They could imprint certain specialized skills onto scrolls for one-time use. The most sought-after of these skill scrolls had been the area effect skills. If supplies run low, we shall limit daily sales. After all, what we offer is genuinely of high quality. Humph, young man, you need not teach me the art of hunger marketing. Do you think I was merely idle in my past endeavors? Spoke Dongfang Roland, her expression brimming with pride as she regarded Lu Yu. Sun Hanyu elaborated. This individual previously engaged in smuggling and even established a trading point of her own. Although it was later destroyed, her acumen for commerce remains formidable, and I have entrusted the commercial affairs in Gathering City to her. At this moment, Lu Yu comprehended why Sun Hanyu had summoned an assassin. He had initially assumed Dongfang Roland would be present for her combat prowess, only to discover her expertise lay in economics. With this knowledge, Lu Yu felt reassured about the economic foundation of Gathering City. Sister Dongfang, I happen to have a batch of items in my guild that could serve as a promotional gimmick for sale. I am certain many would find them appealing. What items? They had better not be subpar. Dongfang Roland stood with her hands on her hips, casting a deliberately provocative glance at Lu Yu. The two had clashed before, and as a second-tier hidden-class assassin, she felt quite dissatisfied with her failure to eliminate a fragile summoner. Although she harbored no real animosity towards Lu Yu, the mere sight of him was enough to irk her, causing her tone to inadvertently reflect her agitation. Lu Yu could understand Dongfang Roland's psychological state. It was akin to a girl playfully punching someone in the chest while calling them a fool. In response to this situation, Lu Yu could only shrug in resignation. He retrieved a weapon from the guild's warehouse, a musket. This was the result of acquiring the musket blueprint from the dwarves during their last encounter, which the innocent youth had brought back. However, the crafting of such a weapon demanded a high level of forging skill, and the materials were not easily obtainable, preventing mass production until recently. Finally, someone in the guild had reached the master level in armor crafting, allowing for the creation of a batch of muskets. The initial production yielded only a few hundred, with a high exchange threshold set by the reclusive guild. While female players might be oblivious, no man could resist the allure of a firearm. The muskets were snatched up almost immediately upon their release. The remaining 100 or so muskets, lacking any capable individuals to exchange for them, remained in the guild's warehouse. Chapter 300. The allure of the musket. Dongfang Roland took the musket. Examining it closely, its attributes were indeed commendable, yet not superior to the weapons forged by old Wu, right? She turned to Wu Tianju, only to find him utterly captivated by the musket, his eyes practically sparkling. Not just Wu Tianju, but several others displayed similar expressions. Men remain youthful at heart. These older gentlemen were familiar with firearms, and how could they not be moved when a gun was presented before them? Although the musket appeared somewhat rough around the edges, it was still a firearm. Wu Tianju had attempted on numerous occasions to invent firearm blueprints, yet all his efforts had ended in failure. Today, he was presented with a usable musket right before his eyes. Dongfang Roland possessed a keen eye, though she was unaware of the musket's merits. The reactions of the older men illuminated its true value. Young man, how many more muskets do you have? Bring them forth. Consider it an investment for your mentor's stronghold. Lu Yu exchanged 100 muskets from the warehouse, laying them before Dongfang Roland. Is that all? Upon realizing the musket's allure for men, Dongfang Roland suddenly regarded them with newfound seriousness. 100 muskets would surely be insufficient for a clientele numbering in the millions. Lu Yu shrugged. The materials for the muskets are difficult to obtain. This is all we have for now. Dongfang Roland shook her head in disappointment, but swiftly collected the muskets with utmost urgency. She has already devised a strategy to maximize the utilization of these firearms. By designating them as non-saleable items, she can reward herself with a firearm for every 1,000 players she successfully attracts to the United City. Eastern Roland contemplated this. While Wu Tianju approached Lu Yu. My dear apprentice, do you possess the blueprints for such firearms? A splendid opportunity has presented itself. Indeed, Lu Yu replied. How could I possibly procure so many firearms without blueprints? Could you kindly share the blueprint with your master? Wu Tianju inquired. Well, that would be inappropriate, Lu Yu responded. The blueprints for the firearms are the property of our guild, the Lord of the Abyss, and cannot be disclosed casually. Come now. You are the leader of the Lord of the Abyss. Obtaining a copy of the blueprint should be effortless for you. Lu Yu shook his head. That is not permissible. Guild property remains guild property. Even as the leader, I cannot utilize it arbitrarily. These firearms were acquired through my contribution points. Unless, of course, you also exchange your guild contribution points to view the blueprints. But I am not a member of your guild. How could I possess your contribution points? Lu Yu smiled. Master, you are now a heavenly ranked armorer and the chief of the armor-making association in the United City. Just speak plainly about what you desire. As long as it is within my means, I shall comply. After a brief preamble, Wu Tianju immediately grasped his apprentice's intention. He clearly sought to extract a price. For the blueprints, a little sacrifice was warranted. Lu Yu's grin widened. Master, I would not dare to make excessive demands. Once you comprehend the firearm blueprints, please assist in their refinement and forge perhaps 10 to 20,000 units. What did you say? Wu Tianju nearly leapt from his seat. 20,000 units? How dare you ask for such a quantity? Not a chance. At most, 2,000. Agreed. Lu Yu promptly acquiesced. And Wu Tianju's expression soured as if he had consumed something unpleasant. His apprentice's expectations were clearly far greater than 2,000 units. Sun Hanyu, observing from the side, stifled a laugh. Regardless of how the transaction unfolded, she was certain to benefit. Lu Yu presented the firearm blueprints to Wu Tianju, whose previous discomfort vanished instantly, replaced by excitement as he eagerly examined the designs. In truth, Lu Yu had anticipated that even if Wu Tianju did not assist in forging a single unit, he would still bestow the blueprints upon his mentor. This elder possessed considerable expertise in armor crafting, and with his modifications, the firearms could easily achieve at least a golden rank. It is worth noting that the guild's master armor had thus far produced firearms, 95 of which were merely silver rank. Although silver equipment currently reigns as the mainstream gear, players are on the verge of entering their first-class transition at level 40 in large numbers, rendering silver equipment less significant. Well then, my friend, do you possess any peculiar and intriguing items? Lu Yu shook his head, confirming the absence of such treasures. The principal features of the Abyss Lord's Guild warehouse included 3 items. First, the special potions crafted by Dreaming Jiangnan. Second, the equipment forged by Lu Yu. And third, the summoned beasts that could assist in training. The mentors for the first 2 side professions resided in the Gathering City. As for the last item, Lu Yu was certainly not inclined to sell it, as it was a benefit for his guild members. Moreover, he had just placed a Goblin Legion at the southern gate of Gathering City, prepared for a new batch of exchangeable training summons. The guild's benefits were to be displayed prominently for all to see. Hanyu, I have completely exhausted your apprentice. I believe it's time to issue an announcement. Lu Yu, system announcement. The Lord of Gathering City speaks, dear players. Gathering City has been established. For the next 7 days, all items in the shops will be offered at a 10 discount, along with rare items and potions listed as follows. Upon reading this announcement, Lu Yu couldn't help but mutter, why does this feel like a supermarket clearance sale? Nonetheless, there was no choice. To attract players, such measures were necessary. Although it may not seem particularly grand, it was undoubtedly effective. Dongfang Roland brimmed with confidence. Lu Yu remained non-committal. As long as genuine benefits were provided, Gathering City would surely draw in a multitude of players. Once the main city began to generate income, it could gradually expand its territory. Master, unless there is anything else, I shall take my leave. Go on, attend to your matters. Sun Hanyu had already seated herself at the desk to manage affairs. As players were beginning to flock into Gathering City, requiring her assistance in transitioning their main city identities, Lu Yu exited the Lord's mansion. The Golden Stone Secret Realm would not open for another half an hour, so there was no need to rush. Seizing this moment, he decided to hatch an egg. With 100,000 goblin experience, it should suffice to bring the egg to life. Chapter 301. The Defiant One entering the summoning space. Lu Yu found it even more vibrant with the addition of 80,000 goblins. He had long since divided the summoning space into distinct areas, ensuring that this prosperity appeared orderly rather than chaotic. The egg was placed in a conspicuous spot, as Lu Yu was genuinely concerned that, amid his busyness, he might forget to nourish it with experience. However, after today, such worries should dissipate. Above the summoning space, the experience stored had reached an unprecedented level of abundance. The hatching progress bar for the egg showed only 14 remaining. With 100,000 goblin experience, it was estimated that merely 20,000 would be needed to complete its hatching progress. Lu Yu controlled the experience reservoir, gently infusing the experience points into the white eggshell. The hatching progress bar began to steadily rise. 87, 88, 89, 90, 100. As the progress bar reached 100, the infusion of experience ceased automatically. The half-human-sized egg began to tremble slightly, as if an invisible force were about to burst forth from within. Lu Yu's gaze was fixed intently on the egg, filled with curiosity. Upon first receiving this egg from Sun Tianhua, he had heard tales of it being extracted from the abyss by that old man. An egg from the abyss, such a notion alone suggested its extraordinary nature. Moreover, since Lu Yu's transformation, all the experience points he had accrued had been devoted to this egg. It was only now that the egg's incubation progress had finally reached 100. Had he distributed this experience among other summoned beasts, it would have sufficed for pivotal creatures like the Goblin General and the Mermaid Shelley to achieve their first transformations. As the egg cracked, the sound resonated within the summoning space. Though the noise was faint, the utter silence surrounding them made the cracking sound remarkably clear. Cracks began to spread across the shell, revealing an ominous glow from within. At that moment, Lu Yu felt no dissonance in the juxtaposition of darkness and light. For the shell indeed emanated a black luminescence that instinctively conjured images of the void at the intersection of the abyss. The fissures in the shell widened, and the black glow intensified, the cracking sounds incessant. With a few sharp noises, large fragments of the shell began to fall away. The shattered pieces disappeared instantly upon hitting the ground. In the blink of an eye, the entire white shell of the egg had vanished, leaving behind a profound darkness. Indeed, it was an expanse of absolute blackness. Lu Yu observed closely, ensuring he was not mistaken. Within the egg's pristine exterior lay a void resembling an unfathomable chasm, the opening no larger than a fist. System notification: congratulations on successfully incubating the egg. It has entered a new form. While others shed their dark exteriors to reveal smooth, white skin beneath, this egg had discarded its alabaster shell, leaving only a small, inky black cavity. Lu Yu attempted to reach into the small opening, only to find the cavity shudder violently. It seemed poised to engulf him entirely. However, midway through this process, a powerful repulsion force expelled him forcefully. The egg emitted a retching sound, an inconceivable reaction for something akin to a black hole. As it convulsed, a voice suddenly resonated in Lu Yu's mind. Huh? I can't consume you? Without a doubt, this voice emanated from the egg before him. To Lu Yu, it came as no surprise that the egg could not consume itself. After all, how could a summoned beast ever devour its master? However, he felt a surge of anger at the egg's immediate inclination to turn against its own kind. After expending a considerable amount of experience to successfully hatch it, this egg had revealed itself to be a traitor, a being disloyal to him. Regardless of the secrets it might possess, was not worth retaining. Lu Yu held dominion over his summoned beasts, just as he had once executed Wang Dachui among the dwarves. He could similarly dispose of this summoned creature with ease. Lu Yu's fingers glided over the interface, selecting the egg, and the option for execution materialized before him. He refrained from hastily pressing it, instead casting a cold, penetrating gaze upon the dark void before him. He uttered no words, but the frigid intensity of his stare conveyed everything. He believed the dark entity could perceive his current emotions, perhaps sensing Lu Yu's murderous intent. The egg immediately projected a conciliatory voice into his mind. Daddy, is that you? I thought someone was merely feeding me. Lu Yu's expression remained unchanged, his icy demeanor unyielding as he disregarded the black void's feigned misunderstanding. His finger inched closer to the execution button. Daddy, don't you love me? I was raised by you after all. Without a flicker of emotion, Lu Yu pressed on, his finger advancing further. Daddy, I truly didn't mean to. Please forgive me. His finger was now poised at the edge of the button, requiring only a slight exertion of force to obliterate the dark void. Panic overtook the creature. It appeared to genuinely grasp the gravity of its predicament, crying out, Daddy, I was wrong. I only wished to consume you because I didn't want to be under your control. I realize my error now. I shall never defy you again. I want to be your most obedient daughter. Please spare me. I do not wish to die. The urgency in its voice was palpable. At last, Lu Yu halted his finger. You are aware that I could terminate you at any moment, so do not attempt to deceive me. I have little tolerance for your clever tricks or emotional manipulations. I require your unwavering loyalty when I need it. I understand, Daddy, the egg replied. Call me Master. Yes, Master. Lu Yu deactivated the egg's interface and fixed his gaze upon the dark void. Tell me, what exactly are you? What abilities do you possess? Originally, he had no intention of posing this inquiry, but upon activating the Egg-S panel, he was met with an expanse of question marks. This was the first time he had encountered such an anomaly with a summoned creature. Yet, given its origin from the abyss, the peculiarity of the situation was perhaps not entirely unfathomable. After all, its initial reaction upon hatching had been to turn against him, demonstrating a complete lack of loyalty for a summoned beast. Anything associated with the abyss is far from simple. Master, I am uncertain of my own nature. Yet I possess the ability to consume certain entities to enhance my strength. Is that all I can do? Ah, no. I can also transport others through the abyss, allowing them to enter other realms. That ability seems quite practical. How many can you take with you? It depends on the amount of energy I possess. Based on your current state, how many can you transport? At present, I cannot take anyone at all. How can you acquire energy? By consuming entities? Indeed. If I devour 100 of those projections, I can transport one individual across the abyss. Following the perception provided by the black hole, Liu Yu discerned that the projections referred to were level 60 goblins. To carry one person across the abyss, one must consume 100 level 60 goblins. This arrangement seems rather unprofitable. Are you truly so ineffectual? Liu Yu felt quite dissatisfied. Although the ability to transport others through the abyss was indeed impressive, he felt that the creature he had nurtured through such extensive experience was merely a redundant tool. No. As long as I obtain energy, I can accomplish many things. For example, well, I am not entirely certain at the moment, but I am confident that once I acquire energy, I will undoubtedly become formidable. Chapter 302. The little abyss. Liu Yu regarded the black hole in silence, and the black hole reciprocated with its own quietude. After a considerable time, Liu Yu smirked. You genuinely do not know what you are capable of, or are you simply reluctant to disclose your potential? You are aware that I cannot perceive your abilities, so you feign ignorance, correct? The black hole remained silent, yet Liu Yu sensed a flicker of uncertainty within it. A rebellious spirit will always remain rebellious. If Liu Yu were to genuinely believe that it would faithfully pledge its allegiance, it would be a folly of epic proportions. However, even in its silence, Liu Yu could surmise certain truths. If I am not mistaken, you are essentially a miniature abyss, are you not? The black hole quivered imperceptibly, a detail that Liu Yu keenly noted. His assumption was indeed accurate. This entity was an underdeveloped abyss. Whatever capabilities the abyss possesses, it should be able to replicate. Transporting others through the abyss is likely its most rudimentary skill. Yet, what more can the abyss accomplish? Liu Yu's thoughts drifted to his own profession, which arose from the enhancement derived from the abyss. Could this little abyss also provide a similar augmentation to professions? Quickly, Liu Yu shook his head. If he could not exert control over his own role as an abyss summoner, how could he possibly empower another profession? However, augmenting other elements should still be feasible. Shouldn't he? Liu Yu casually produced a vial of potion and said, Come, enhance this potion with abyssal powers. Do not tell me you are incapable. If you cannot accomplish this, I see no reason to keep you. Upon hearing Liu Yu's words, the black hole, initially poised to refuse, suddenly fell silent. However, it cautiously replied, Master, I truly require energy to utilize my abilities. This statement appeared to be genuine. Liu Yu summoned several goblins with a flick of his hand. Feed on them. Once you have finished, strengthen this potion for me. The appearance of the goblins sparked a sense of excitement within the black hole. With Liu Yu's permission, it swiftly leaped onto one of the goblins. The part of the goblin's body that the black hole clung to vanished in an instant. Subsequently, it seemed as though a powerful force was tearing at the goblin's body, gradually shredding it and drawing it into the black hole. Within half a minute, one goblin had completely disappeared, and the black hole's size had notably increased. After consuming the first goblin, the black hole leapt onto the second, repeating its previous action and continuing its feast. This time, the speed of consumption was markedly quicker. By the time it reached the last goblin, the process took less than 10 seconds to complete. Liu Yu remained silent, quietly observing as the black hole devoured all 10 goblins. At this point, the black hole had regained a size comparable to that of a human and turned back toward Liu Yu, pausing momentarily before drifting closer to him. In that brief moment, Liu Yu sensed a flicker of murderous intent emanating from the black hole. However, this intent was swiftly suppressed. Liu Yu felt no anger. For since the inception of this small black hole, there had been no loyalty on its part. Rather, it often harbored a desire to devour its master. Had it possessed the power to do so, Liu Yu might have already been consumed. Aware of this sentiment, Liu Yu had never relaxed his vigilance. Now, however, the little abyss had retracted its murderous intent, instead projecting a signal of compliance. It floated up and down beside Liu Yu, eagerly accepting the vial of life potion from his hand. Master, I shall commence the enhancement now. Liu Yu nodded in agreement. The black hole swiftly engulfed the life potion, and after a brief moment, it regurgitated the potion, its body having shrunk slightly in the process. Liu Yu took back the life potion, a mid-level concoction crafted by Ru Meng Jiang Nan, which instantly restored 500 health points, and would continue to replenish 200 health points per second for the next 10 seconds. Liu Yu opened the enhanced potion effect. Intermediate life potion, abyss enhancement, creator, dreaming, Jiangnan effect. Instantly restores 25,000 health points to the user and provides a shield of 10,000 points for 30 seconds. TSK. Upon witnessing the enhanced life potion, a smile involuntarily crept across Liu Yu's lips. The effect of the potion had increased tenfold after enhancement. How many more of such potions can your energy within strengthen? Only this one can be enhanced. Liu Yu remained silent, continuing to gaze at the black hole. The black hole quickly revised its statement. For more potions can be enhanced. Liu Yu kept staring at it. Furthermore, 9 more potions can be enhanced. Lu Yu promptly produced 9 intermediate life potions. Now, enhance them for me. If I find out you can enhance more than 9, I shall obliterate you at once. Well, I can actually enhance 99 more. Humph. Lu Yu snorted coldly and produced another 90 potions. I shall not heed your words. I will only observe your actions. The black hole timidly swallowed the 99 potions, and after a while, regurgitated them one by one. As the potions departed from its form, the black hole gradually diminished in size. After the last potion was released, Lu Yu surveyed the black hole, which had returned to a size akin to its original, and nodded in satisfaction. Chapter 303. Are you trying to show off to me? Lu Yu was uncertain whether this small abyss possessed additional functionalities, yet its exhibited capabilities proved to be of value. However, this enhancement seemed to deplete summoning energy. Regarding its other abilities, Lu Yu felt that, given the opportunity, he could inquire further with the abyss. From their last communication, it appeared that the abyss held a favorable impression of him. Perhaps it was more accurate to say it had an affinity for abyss summoners. This little abyss resembled a progeny of the abyss. What the abyss could accomplish, this small one should be capable of as well. Surely, you can enhance more than just potions? Aside from certain specific items, I can generally enhance most things. The little abyss was intimidated by Lu Yu's previous display of power and now hesitated to engage in any trickery. Lu Yu glanced at his equipment. The few golden and dark golden items were not worth further enhancement, as they would soon be rendered obsolete. He was reluctant to part with the 2 heavenly items. His gaze shifted to the ring of emotion sorrow. This ring was of earthly quality and had already absorbed 2 effects, with 8 opportunities remaining for consumption. Would enhancing it increase its absorption capacity? Lu Yu removed the ring from his finger. Let us enhance it and see. The little abyss conveyed a sense of grievance. Father, I have no energy left after enhancing the potions. Lu Yu waved his hand, summoning 100 goblins. These shall replenish your energy, and then enhance the emotion sorrow for me. Upon seeing the approaching goblins, the little abyss felt a surge of joy within. For the prospect of consuming sustenance was its greatest desire at that moment. This time, it shed its earlier restraint, devouring 1 goblin after another, and soon feasted upon 10 goblins in a single bite. In the blink of an eye, 100 goblins were consumed, leaving not a trace behind. Its form swelled, nearly matching the stature of Lu Yu. Satiated and content, the little abyss radiated a sense of fulfillment, swaying and spinning in place. Yet, before it could complete its revelry, it caught sight of Lu Yu smiling at it. The little abyss froze momentarily, then hurriedly scampered to Lu Yu, taking the ring of heartbroken love from his hand and swallowing it whole. As the ring made its descent into its belly, the little abyss began to rapidly shrink. This sensation was displeasing. It had just acquired newfound power, only to relinquish it so soon. It felt akin to a miserly bank teller, witnessing vast sums of money flow through their hands, yet possessing none for themselves. However, it dared not express this dissatisfaction, as Lu Yu was nearby. Between the choice of satiation and demise, it understood the path it must take. Lu Yu observed as the little abyss gradually diminished until it reverted to its original size, akin to that of a fist. Despite expending all its energy, the little abyss did not eject the ring of heartbroken love, but instead regarded Lu Yu with an air of embarrassment. A thought echoed in Lu Yu's mind. Father, this energy is insufficient. I have not completed the enhancement. Lu Yu was not surprised. The energy from 100 goblins was roughly equivalent to the enhancement provided by 1,000 bottles of intermediate potions, setting aside the actual worth of potions versus earth artifacts. Even their current gold values were not on the same plane. 1,000 bottles of intermediate potions could fetch around 10,000 gold coins, while the potions crafted by the renowned apothecary in Dreaming Jiangnan could be sold for between 150,000 to 200,000 gold coins. In contrast, an earth artifact, under present circumstances, could effortlessly command over 1,000,000 gold coins, with demand far exceeding supply. How much more was needed? The little abyss pondered for a moment, uncertain, but at least 50 times the previous amount of energy is required. 50 times the earlier energy equated to 5,000 goblins. Lu Yu's lips twitched. This was equivalent to half a goblin army. Nevertheless, he summoned 5,000 goblins, with 80,000 goblins available in the summoning space. Parting with 5,000 was not too burdensome, especially since these goblins were mere projections. Upon witnessing Lu Yu truly delivering 5,000 goblins, the little abyss was momentarily taken aback. He never anticipated that his father would genuinely be willing to provide him with such an abundance of food. However, upon reflection, he realized that his very existence was still in the hands of his beloved father. Moreover, regardless of how much energy he consumed, he would inevitably have to expel it all shortly thereafter, causing his initial excitement to dim. Nonetheless, with Lu Yu by his side, he dared not defy Lu Yu's commands, and thus approached to begin devouring the goblins. 5,000 was no trivial number, yet fortunately, as the quantity consumed increased, the speed of consumption also accelerated. By the time he reached the final few hundred, the little abyss could swallow them all in a single bite. After consuming 5,000 goblins, the little abyss had grown enormously, nearly matching the colossal stature of Sun Hanyu. Thankfully, The summoning space was boundless and could easily accommodate the little abyss's form. In its eyes, Lu Yu appeared diminutive. However, Lu Yu felt no fear. For regardless of the little abyss's physical expansion, he maintained control over its life. The mere fact that the little abyss towered over him caused a slight discomfort in Lu Yu's heart. Were it a loyal summoned beast, he would not mind. Yet, from the very beginning, the little abyss had expressed sentiments of betrayal, inciting a strong aversion within Lu Yu. How could a summoned beast dare to look down upon him? Perhaps sensing Lu Yu's dissatisfaction, the little abyss began to shrink rapidly, returning to the size of a fist after several minutes. Lu Yu remained silent, doing nothing but watch as it reverted to its original form and then spat a ring into the palm of his hand. He did not immediately inspect the ring's enhancement effects, but instead fixed an icy gaze upon the little abyss. Are you attempting to challenge me? I do not believe you are incapable of consuming while enhancing. Realizing that Lu Yu had seen through its intentions, the abyss trembled in fear. It could not comprehend why this man, the human it referred to as father, seemed to unveil its thoughts so effortlessly. It felt as though all its actions were laid bare before him. You better understand your position. This is my final act of tolerance towards you. Do not assume that your utility grants you immunity from erasure. Should you dare to continue provoking me, I will have as many reasons to eliminate you as you possess value in my eyes. Do you understand? The little abyss shook its body frantically, signaling its submission. Lu Yu scoffed and turned his gaze away. If this creature exhibited absolute loyalty, he might genuinely regard it as his child. However, based on its prior behaviors, Lu Yu could only perceive it as his dog. Even that comparison fell short, for at least dogs are loyal, whereas the little abyss could merely be considered a tool. Chapter 304. The future artifact. After issuing a warning to the little abyss, Lu Yu finally turned his attention to the changes in the emotion-inflicted ring in his hand. Having utilized over 5,000 goblin energies for its enhancement, it was expected to yield remarkable results. Emotion-inflicted ring, grade, 60 life, 10,000 attack, 1,000 defense, 1,000 magic power, 1,000 critical hit, 100 effect 1. Bound by emotion. This effect allows the ring to absorb attributes and effects from other equipment of the same type, significantly amplifying their efficacy. Effect 2. Mastery. This effect reduces the user's level requirement by 25 levels. Effect 3. Venomous Fong. When attacking, there is a 10 chance to inflict the target with a venomous state lasting 30 seconds. Effect 4. Gold Rush. This effect increases the gold drop rate from wild monsters by tenfold and carries a chance to yield rare items. Effect 5. Ascend. Upon absorbing a total of 10 rings, the equipment can be upgraded by 1 grade, with the precise attributes of the enhancement being contingent on the quality of the absorbed items. Note: remaining absorbable quantity, 810, maximum absorbable grade, celestial artifact. It was evident that all attributes of the emotion-inflicted ring had been fortified, and even its existing effects had seen enhancement. However, contrary to Lu Yu's expectations, the quantity of items it could consume had not increased. Instead, the grade of items it could absorb had improved. Originally capable of consuming only Earth-grade rings, or below, it had now ascended to the celestial artifact tier, allowing it to absorb celestial artifacts as well. Most importantly, a 5th effect, Ascend, had been added. Once the emotion-inflicted ring had absorbed 10 rings, it would directly elevate to the level of a divine artifact. To achieve the divine artifact grade, certain thresholds must be met. This implies that regardless of the quality of rings Lu Yu offered for absorption, even if they were merely common items, the Ascend effect would forcibly elevate them to the quality of a divine artifact, albeit possibly the lowest tier within that classification. Naturally, Lu Yu would not allow the emotion-inflicted ring to indiscriminately consume items merely to obtain a divine artifact. If possible, he aspired to forge this equipment into the most formidable divine artifact. The investment of 5,000 goblin energies for a future supreme divine artifact was indeed a worthwhile endeavor, if not a considerable profit. Lu Yu donned the emotion-inflicted ring once more. Outside, the countdown for the opening of the Golden Stone Secret Realm had commenced. While he wished to have the little abyss enhance more items, time was of the essence. Glancing at the little abyss without uttering a word, he turned and exited the summoning space. The little abyss trembled, although Lu Yu had said nothing. It sensed the warning in his gaze, one that cautioned against any thoughts of pilfering the summoned beasts within the summoning space. Had it been discovered prematurely? The abyss, though still diminutive, felt an overwhelming sense of injustice. Having been so thoroughly trampled by a mere human, it was unwilling to accept such a fate. Lu Yu returned to the outside world, where an immense throng of players had gathered at the southern gate of the gathering city, all eagerly anticipating the opening of the Stone Secret Realm. The bustling crowd brought Lu Yu great satisfaction, for the notification regarding the realm's commencement had been dispatched an hour prior. In that span of time, it was improbable that so many players had remained idle. They must have sought to procure potions, upgrade their gear, and prepare for their foray into the realm. Gathering City, being in closest proximity to the secret realm, undoubtedly served as the prime location for such commerce. Lu Yu was convinced that his mentor had amassed a fortune by now, which was precisely what he had hoped to witness. The selection of Gathering City was indeed astute, as it lay within a high-level monster zone and boasted the finest potions and equipment for sale. Any player with a modicum of awareness would be inclined to relocate from Lingfeng City to Gathering City. Various factions had already delineated their positions outside the Stone Secret Realm, ready to venture in as soon as the countdown concluded. Players had acquired experience from the previous two openings. The air quality within the realm escalated progressively, rendering the Stone Secret Realm a perilous yet bountiful source of rare minerals for the majority. Each expedition into the realm, provided one survived, yielded or is capable of enhancing an individual's gear significantly. Thus, both large guilds and solitary players were eager to reap substantial rewards. The Lord of the Abyss had also congregated outside the realm. Without Lu Yu's intervention, the faction known as Wuyo had naturally attracted its members. They were among the first to settle in Gathering City and had become more familiar with the locale than others. Under the organization of Wuyo, nearly all members of the faction had developed side professions, with a fair distribution of various roles. Even if the current secret realm were of a different nature, the Lord of the Abyss could still derive immense benefits without relying on Lu Yu's summoned creatures for auxiliary roles. Consequently, this time, instead of dwarf miners, each member of the Lord of the Abyss stood alongside goblins. Even the newly formed sub-alliance members were accompanied by skeletal warriors. The use of summoned creatures to assist in combat had become a hallmark of the Lord of the Abyss. Wuyo intended to approach Lu Yu to report on the arrangements for entering the Stone Secret Realm, but Lu Yu declined. Such matters were better left for Wuyo to orchestrate independently. While Lu Yu possessed the capability to manage such affairs, he did not perceive the vice leader of the Champion Alliance as inferior. After all, it was this vice leader who had led humanity to triumph during a time of crisis, not Lu Yu himself. However, he did request 3 individuals from Wuyo to join him, engaging in a rather audacious display of strength. Since the last time the 3 brothers assisted Lu Yu in locating 2 abyssal eyes, they have been left to their own devices. Through careful observation and enhancement of their skills, they have now become members of the Abyssal Lords, and through their endeavors, they have even secured the position of squad leader. While the Abyssal Lords do not offer salaries or allowances, the resources within the game can indeed be exchanged for currency. Since their induction into the Abyssal Lords, their abilities have surged, and their lives have gradually become more affluent. Previously, they shared one resource among themselves, but now each possesses one of their own. As for personal matters, Lu Yu is disinterested in intervening, considering that half of the individuals on Liangshan are notorious bandits who pride themselves as heroes. Whenever the gang leader calls for them, the trio promptly rushes to his side. The Golden Stone Secret Realm is about to open, and their immediate summons leaves no doubt as to the reason. Chapter 305. Entering the Golden Stone Secret Realm among the 3. Only the squad leader possesses the skill to detect ores. Nonetheless, Lu Yu summoned all 3 to his side. Although their moral character may be questionable, their bond is undeniably strong. They are not blood brothers, yet their camaraderie surpasses that of kin. Even Lu Yu is reluctant to separate them. You 3. Hold on to my cloak and enter with me in a moment. Of course, boss. The squad leader expresses profound respect towards Lu Yu. Ever since joining the Abyssal Lords, he feels rejuvenated. The atmosphere within the gang ignites a desire to strive for a better life. This is not mere brainwashing or the allure of grand promises, but a genuine realization of tangible benefits. They are aware that formal members of the Champion Alliance receive a monthly salary. Given their levels, each would typically earn a base salary of around 3,000 per month, with additional bonuses for participation in events. However, the trio has no desire to switch allegiances. This is not out of fear of Qingjiu, but rather because the hidden benefits of the Abyssal Lords far exceed the visible 3,000 yuan. Previously, each of them exchanged 2 skeletons for training, and within a week, their levels had caught up. With the assistance of summoned beasts, their monster-slaying speed has dramatically increased, enabling them to even tackle foes above their level. It is important to note that unlike Lu Yu, who only obtains gold from slaying monsters, they also acquire equipment. High-level wild monsters yield superior gear, and although the drop rates in the Abyss are generally lackluster, their collective efforts have resulted in several pieces of equipment each day. Through the income generated from selling these items, they have already surpassed 10,000 yuan monthly. Just a few days prior, fortune smiled upon them, and they managed to obtain a golden artifact. Although its attributes were mediocre, it still fetched a 5-figure sum. Originally, the youngest planned to spend the money on a day of indulgence, but the squad leader intervened. He preferred to save this sum of money, having previously endured the pangs of hunger, which left him weary of a life spent earning and spending without restraint. Sometimes, a man's transformation can occur in an instant. The second brother wholeheartedly supported the eldest's decision, while the third, though initially displeased, did not wish to return to a life of deprivation and thus acquiesced. Now, while the 3 occasionally indulged in new experiences, they had begun to distance themselves from their former carefree existence. The one who felt compelled to challenge the nursing home believed that joining the Abyssal Lord was the wisest decision of his life. Initially motivated by fear of Lu Yu, he now found that life was gradually improving. Consequently, upon encountering Lu Yu, he felt an inexplicable reverence. Lu Yu, of course, remained unaware of the changes that had transpired among the trio. He only knew that since their induction into the Abyssal Lord, they had not engaged in any activities that would tarnish its reputation. At the very least, they had not done so within the game. Otherwise, the indifferent would have expelled them long ago. As the countdown for the Stone's secret realm concluded, players surged forward. Lu Yu stepped inside, with the three companions trailing behind. Clutching his cloak, the system announced, "You have entered the Stone's secret realm. The realm will close in 24 hours. Players who have not exited by then will have their inventory cleared and be forcibly teleported back to their respective main city, Springwater." This familiar system notification marked Lu Yu's second entry into the Stone's secret realm, the first being a significant venture where his greatest reward was the realm's crystal, which enabled him to exert a degree of control over the Stone's secret realm. Thanks to the realm crystal, Lu Yu did not find himself on the periphery as he had previously, but rather at the very core of the realm. The vegetation remained lush, yet there were no visible ores. Leading his three brothers out of the core, they entered the innermost layer of the realm. Unlike before, the Stone's secret realm had undergone considerable transformation. Lu Yu produced a piece of celestial stone and handed it to the one who challenged the nursing home, saying, "Examine this stone. See if you can discern more. If there are any other high-quality ores, do let me know." By high quality, I mean those of diamond grade or above. Currently, the mainstream players had acquired silver-grade equipment, with top-tier experts donning half-golden tier gear, while the elite among them sported dark golden equipment in abundance. For Lu Yu, ores below dark golden grade held no allure, and he had no desire to compete with other players for meager profits. "For the ores we find this time, aside from the celestial stone, I will offer 10 as your reward," Lu Yu added. To make a horse run, one must provide it with fodder. While it was indeed gratifying to benefit without cost, such a strategy could not endure. Lu Yu maintained his belief. "If I treat you with sincerity, and you reciprocate with genuine intent, we may continue to thrive in a mutually beneficial manner. However, my sincere affection for you is met with your belief that I am easily deceived and bullied. Hence, I shall ensure that you pay a painful price." Although the three brothers relentlessly targeted Lu Yu in the novice village, Lu Yu nearly caused their downfall before they could escape. Eventually, after a moment of enlightenment following a confrontation with the elderly care center, they sought to curry favor with Lu Yu, recognizing his value. Consequently, they regained his equitable treatment. As the elder brother, upon acquiring the Tianji stone, was poised to attune himself to its energies, he was caught off guard by the promised reward of 10%. Nearly choking on his own breath, he had prepared himself to transform into a laborer, allowing the leader to benefit once, thereby solidifying his own standing within the guild, which seemed advantageous. To his surprise, not only was he not taken advantage of, but he was also presented with a reward, one that promised to be exceedingly lucrative. The diamond grade, or, commencing from such a high tier, was invaluable. Even with just a 10% share, the profits would be substantial. The elder brother did not express dissatisfaction over the mere point of commission, for such high tier, or would undoubtedly be guarded by formidable monsters and bosses, not easily obtained by mere sensing. The last time he had entered, he had sensed numerous diamond quality ores, only to abandon them due to the overwhelming strength of the bosses. Reflecting on it now, he still feels pangs of regret, for they represented substantial wealth. This time, however, the circumstances were different, with the guild leader by his side. Even the mightiest of bosses would falter under the leader's relentless assault. He had witnessed the leader's summoned beast execute a wide-area skill, annihilating tens of thousands of goblins at the city gate. Indeed, aligning oneself with the leader ensures one has a share of the spoils. Of course, the prerequisite for this venture was to first locate the Tianji stone for the guild leader. The elder brother closed his eyes, beginning to sense the location of ores akin to the one in his possession. Chapter 306. The Tianji stone. Lu Yu observed as the elder brother shut his eyes, his demeanor reflecting utmost seriousness. While it seemed straightforward to detect the presence of ore, pinpointing the exact location of specific minerals posed a significant challenge. The vastness of the Golden Stone's secret realm rendered the task akin to finding a needle in a haystack. Lu Yu refrained from urging him, patiently waiting instead. He was no longer driven by the same fervent desire for minerals as he had been at the outset. As a master armorer, Lu Yu had not personally forged equipment in quite some time. A lack of time was one reason. However, the absence of suitable forging materials was more significant. Nevertheless, this time, he contemplated the prospect of excavating high-grade minerals to craft new gear. It was indeed time to forge equipment for the guild members. As the guild leader, despite holding the title of master armorer, he had not significantly contributed to the crafting of equipment for the members beyond the initial phase. He could not solely rely on his summoned beasts to provide benefits for the guild members. Otherwise, his role as a master armorer would be rendered meaningless. As for the blueprints, there is no need to inquire further. Of course, I shall seek my mentor, Wu Tianzhu, for assistance. Suddenly, fist-punching the elderly home opened his eyes. "Master, I have found it. It lies in that direction." The speed of fist-punching the elderly home exceeded Lu Yu's expectations. How far? Approximately half an hour. For fist-punching the elderly home, that half hour might translate to less than 10 minutes for Lu Yu. Nevertheless, Lu Yu required fist-punching the elderly home to guide him. thus he could only trail behind. Lu Yu released his summoned beasts, covering a vast area around them. Every wild creature within this range was swiftly dealt with by the summoned beasts. What Lu Yu sought was not these creatures themselves, but the ores that erupted from their bodies. Given that they were located in the innermost layer of the Golden Stone's secret realm, these wild creatures were all above level 60. While they posed a significant challenge to ordinary players, for Lu Yu, they were merely a source of provision. The multitude of summoned beasts swarmed like locusts, leaving no wild creature untouched in their wake. A steady stream of ores was delivered to Lu Yu, ranging in quality from gold to diamond, with the occasional piece of earth grade. Lu Yu, without a glance, collected them all directly into his backpack. The three companions of fist punching the elderly home watched with burning eyes as batches of ores were transported to Lu Yu, only to vanish in his hands. Their hearts felt as though they were being scratched by a cat. How many gold coins must this be worth? At the very least, it could amount to hundreds of thousands. If given to them, it would suffice for many days of indulgence at a bathhouse. As Lu Yu had mentioned earlier, aside from the Tianji stone, the other ores found could be divided among the three of them. However, they were not foolish. Lu Yu had specified that the ores retrieved were those found by fist punching the elderly home, which did not include the current hall. The three could only forcibly divert their gaze elsewhere. Yet, whenever a summoned beast delivered ores, they found themselves unable to resist glancing back. Finally, after half an hour, this torment came to a temporary halt. Fist punching the elderly home led Lu Yu to a flat patch of grass. Master, the Tianji stone mine lies beneath our feet. Though the quantity does not seem abundant, Lu Yu stepped on the grass, finding nothing particularly remarkable. Had fist punching the elderly home not claimed that the Tianji stone resided beneath this grassy expanse? Who could have imagined that a heavenly grade ore would be concealed in such an unassuming location? The ores in this area required no formidable bosses to guard them. As for the limited quantity, this was entirely anticipated. Initially, Lu Yu had considered that the Golden Stone secret realm would not harbor any heavenly grade ores. The presence of even this small quantity of Tianji stones was unexpected. With a command, hundreds of summoned beasts began their task simultaneously. To extract the ores, it was essential first to clear away the top layer of grass. A group of goblins commenced their excavation of the soil, swiftly clearing the turf beneath the feet of Lu Yu and his companions. However, their efforts soon encountered an impasse. As beneath the surface layer of soil lay a bedrock of unyielding stone, Lu Yu instructed the goblins to withdraw and summon dwarven miners instead. These industrious, yet unarmed fellows had long been relegated to the most remote corners of the summoning space, but now, they finally had an opportunity to shine. With each strike of their iron picks, they chipped away at the waste stone, revealing glimmers of celestial or further down. Soon, fist-sized pieces of Tianji stone emerged from the depths. Lu Yu held them in his hands, admiring their beauty while emitting a series of clicks with his tongue. Although these Tianji stones were of little use for forging equipment, when affixed to weaponry, they became invaluable treasures. It was time to bring the bamboo to the weaponsmith. To expedite this side venture and avoid unnecessary delays, Lu Yu reminded himself to contact Chen Yizhu once they exited the Golden Stone secret realm. As the saying goes, there were indeed few Tianji stones here. After mining just a dozen, they had run out. Although Lu Yu felt a twinge of regret, he was nonetheless satisfied. If all went as expected, this location would be the sole source of Tianji stones within the entire realm. He collected all the stones and turned to his companion, the one known as Fist Against the Elderly. All right, we can now seek other ores. Understood, leader. I have already detected the locations of other rare ores. While the dwarven miners were excavating the Tianji stones, Fist Against the Elderly had begun to scout for additional mineral deposits. After all, these Tianji stones were of no concern to the three of them, but the forthcoming ores would yield a tenth of their value. Are there any ores of celestial quality among the others? Alas, no, he replied, expressing his disappointment, but quickly added, though there are several of terrestrial quality. He feared Lu Yu might abandon the search upon learning of the absence of celestial ores. Lu Yu nodded, signaling Fist Against the Elderly to lead the way. Without hesitation, Fist Against the Elderly moved to the forefront, his determination palpable as he envisioned heaps of gold beckoning him. Lu Yu, mounted on his steed, followed at a leisurely pace. It was a rare moment of respite. Whether it be mining or combat, there was no need for Lu Yu to engage directly. He intended to savor this time of rest. Suddenly, a message popped up from Wu Shiji. Brother Yu, where are you? We've encountered a formidable boss and are struggling to prevail. Chapter 307, The Old Crone. Is there truly a wild beast in this secret realm that even the Lord of the Abyss cannot defeat? During this expedition into the Golden Stone secret realm, Lu Yu brought only 3 brothers along, while the rest of the Abyssal Lords, including the innocent youth and dreamlike Jiangnan, remained with the uncontentious one. Moreover, each person had a level 60 goblin at their disposal. If they couldn't defeat that boss, it was indeed formidable. Send me the coordinates. I shall head there immediately, Lu Yu stated without further ado. The uncontentious one promptly sent over the coordinates. Surprisingly, the boss was not located in the innermost layer, but rather in the outermost one. Lu Yu left a multitude of summoned beasts with the trio from the Respect for the Elderly team. Under normal circumstances, These goblins should suffice to sweep through the entire Goldenstone secret realm. He instructed the three to search for ores on their own and to summon the beasts if they encountered formidable wild monsters. Then Lu Yu mounted his steed and set off toward the coordinates. Traveling was an exceedingly tedious endeavor. However, the prospect of collecting a wealth of ores along the way infused this monotony with a hint of anticipation. The uncontentious one would not simply wait idly for Lu Yu's arrival. With the Goldenstone secret realm being open for only 24 hours, he would undoubtedly devise a means to maximize efficiency within that time frame. Likely, after confirming Lu Yu's intention to come, he would leave only a few individuals to guard the spot, while the remainder would disperse to seek out other mining locations. After all, Lu Yu alone was like an army of thousands. Once he arrived, it would be futile to keep too many people on site. As for who would remain, Lu Yu could easily surmise that. Rather than hastening his pace, Lu Yu chose to proceed leisurely, scavenging for ores along the way. However, as he ventured further into the outer layers, the quality of the ores diminished, transitioning from earth grade to diamond grade, eventually descending to gold grade. And even silver grade ores began to appear in abundance in the outermost layer. This disheartened Lu Yu from continuing his rampage. He recalled his summoned beasts, double-checked the coordinates, and then surged forward at full speed. Before long, Lu Yu arrived at the designated coordinates and, from a distance, spotted two graceful figures. As expected, they were the innocent youth and dreamlike Jiangnan. "Big brother, over here," the innocent youth exclaimed, waving furiously upon seeing the approaching steed. The horse slowed, its hooves clattering as it reached the two young ladies. Lu Yu dismounted and called back his steed. "Where's the boss you discovered?" "Right over there." Dreamlike Jiangnan pointed a short distance away, revealing a tattered old man sitting in the muddy earth, toying with several obsidian stones. Upon closer inspection, those stones emanated a dizzying allure. If Lu Yu was not mistaken, they were likely abyssal eyes. Good heavens, an old woman is playing with abyssal eyes. She must be exceedingly wealthy. In truth, it cannot be entirely classified as a boss. It is merely a challenge to engage her in a duel. She mentioned that if one were to defeat her, a hidden realm filled with superior quality or would be unveiled. However, no one within the guild has proven capable of besting her. "Not even you?" Lu Yu queried, his surprise evident as he regarded the innocent youth. Lu Yu held the young lady's skills in high esteem. As a fellow abyss profession, her talents and abilities were nothing short of exceptional, with each strike delivering critical damage and significantly bypassing defenses. Remarkably, she could even execute her attacks without breaking her stealth. Such an extraordinary aptitude. Yet she remains unable to overcome an elderly woman. The innocent youth shrugged helplessly. She is a second-tier player, and her skills are peculiar, seemingly imbued with a locking effect, making it nearly impossible to evade her arrows. Often, 2 or 3 shots are sufficient to eliminate a player. The youth's words sparked Lu Yu's alertness. "She is an archer?" "Indeed, and she can conjure arrows from thin air. Had it not been for the resurrection spell that Dreamy cast on me earlier, I would have already returned to the spring." "What is her ID?" I don't know. She seems capable of concealing her identity." Lu Yu turned his gaze toward the old woman, who met his eyes with a grin that revealed her uneven, yellowing teeth. Taking a deep breath, Lu Yu thought it quite fortunate that he had not sought her out, as she was here waiting like a hunter for her prey. However, at present, he lacked the support of his second-tier summoned beast, and the little golden crow remained in slumber. He doubted he could prevail against her. Yet, as an archer, provided she lacked mobility, exhausting her should not pose a significant challenge. Approaching the elderly woman, Lu Yu looked down at her as she fiddled with the eye of the abyss. "I did not expect you to be a humanoid goblin." The old woman stowed away the eye of the abyss and rose, brushing the dust from her backside. The goblin race has always been fond of hybridization. After so many generations, any form may manifest. However, upon observation, it seems that only pure goblins or humanoids possess the greatest strength. From the tone of the old woman, Lu Yu discerned a sense of detachment. It appeared she did not hold a strong sense of belonging to the goblin race. "You seem to harbor no fondness for the hybrids among the goblins." "Indeed, one cannot merely call it hybridization. It has descended into a state of promiscuity. Several male goblins even dared to assault a Bengal monitor lizard. I find the filth of this race exceedingly distasteful." "Are you familiar with the concept of racial tokens?" "Do not think to persuade me to align with humanity. As a member of the goblin tribe, despite my aversion to this race, I would never betray my kin. Not only would I refrain from treachery, but I would also act with the future of my race in mind. And you, Qingjiao, your existence poses a significant threat to the future of the goblin tribe." Lu Yu shook his head. "You are mistaken. I have no intention of drawing you into the human race. I merely wish to suggest that if you find the goblin species repugnant, perhaps you could consider transforming into a gremlin. They are quite devoted, dedicated solely to feasting and revelry throughout the seasons." The old woman's countenance darkened. "Qingjiao, are you attempting to provoke me? Your understanding is quite astute, and if you so desire, I could invite you to my summoning space for a visit." "Huh, do you know why I dare to stand boldly before you? By the way, you might want to recall those goblin assassins you summoned clandestinely. I see everything clearly from here." The old woman pointed to her eyes. "As an abyssal archer, it was not difficult for her to possess eyes that could perceive all. Lu Yu remained unfazed by the old woman's revelation. Instead, he earnestly responded to her initial inquiry. I believe it is because you are aware that I cannot subdue abyssal professions. You are more intelligent than I anticipated, yet the more intelligent one is, the more deserving of demise. An arrow materialized in the old woman's hand without her even drawing the bow. She plunged it directly into Lu Yu's abdomen. His health points plummeted by 40. He disregarded the arrow embedded in his gut, instead gripping the old woman's arms tightly, preventing her escape. Simultaneously, the surrounding goblin assassins brandished their daggers, lunging at the old woman. Chapter 308. Abyssal Archer. Upon realizing the old woman was an abyssal archer, Lu Yu had already envisioned this scenario. It is quite uncomfortable to be distanced by an archer, especially one of abyssal lineage. Just moments ago, outside Lingfeng City, Lu Yu confirmed that the old woman was not within his line of sight. This implied that this abyssal archer possessed either exceptionally long-range vision or the ability to track without visibility. Considering her arrows that could change direction autonomously, Lu Yu believed the latter to be more plausible. Thus, it was imperative that she not escape his field of view. To ensure she remained within his grasp, the best course of action was to engage her closely. As for the potential damage incurred, one might as well claim that a distant archer could not strike him. The abyssal archer held her pride. She knew of her vulnerability as an archer, yet still chose to confront Lu Yu face to face. As the arrow struck, the goblin assassins sprang into action. The glint of their daggers flickered around the old woman, with the most dazzling being that of the pure-hearted youth. Having learned of the various races within the abyss, she had already discerned from the conversation between Lu Yu and the old woman that this so-called NPC for a one-on-one mission was, in fact, an alien. Despite the gentlemanly manner in which he spoke to the old woman, the tension in their exchange was palpable, thick with an underlying animosity. Dozens of daggers simultaneously pierced the old woman's body, yet the inflicted harm was hardly discernible. The disparity between levels 60 and 80 was stark, especially considering the opponent was a deep abyss class. The only effective damage came from the pure-hearted youth's 2 backstabs, which, by disregarding defenses and imposing multiple critical strikes, delivered damage second only to percentage-based harm. Under the youth's assault, the old woman finally revealed her identity. She was Minghan, with a significant portion of her life force diminished. She glanced behind her, only to find the space empty. However, having previously engaged with the pure-hearted youth, she was aware that this abyssal shadow assassin could strike without breaking stealth. If you cannot defeat me in a one-on-one, do you think you can triumph in a brawl? The old woman, Minghan, disdainfully turned back, intending to conjure arrows once more, only to discover that her hands were firmly grasped by the man before her. To be honest, holding such gnarled hands was far from a pleasant experience, especially considering this old woman was a goblin, which made Lu Yu feel even more repulsed. Yet, this was not the time for introspection. The goblin's damage output was alarmingly high. Based on previous encounters, each of Minghan's arrows inflicted damage fluctuating between 30 and 50, regardless of whether it was 30 or 50. Such percentage-based damage was exceedingly lethal. Lu Yu certainly did not wish to loosen his grip out of disgust, allowing this abyssal archer a chance to escape and unleash havoc upon him and his companions. It was imperative to neutralize her here and now. The old woman struggled fiercely, and Lu Yu's hands grew numb from the exertion. In this realm, strength was not dictated by age, but by the specific metrics of power. As an archer, the old woman's strength growth surpassed Lu Yu's, and with a full exertion, she soon broke free from his grasp. However, before she could make further moves, a dozen goblins surged forward to seize her arms. Unfazed, the old woman scoffed, "A bunch of first-tier nobodies. Do you truly believe your numerical advantage can vanquish me?" Lu Yu, disinterested in further verbal exchange, continued summoning beasts to unleash a relentless assault. Minghan's health visibly dwindled, though her hands were bound. The restraints did not seem to hinder her ability to cast spells significantly. With her face turned skyward, she emitted a piercing cry, and in the air, countless arrows coalesced, raining down like a torrential downpour. Each arrow that struck the summoned beasts inflicted 10 damage, with each arrow also dealing an additional 2 damage to surrounding creatures upon impact. The cumulative effect caused the summoned creature's life force to plummet, and even Lu Yu was not spared. Were it not for Ru Ming Jiangnan sustaining their health from behind, it was likely that everyone present would have met their demise. After unleashing a barrage of arrows, the elderly woman visibly appeared to be fatigued. However, upon noticing that none of the surrounding goblins had perished, her eyes widened in disbelief. In her anticipation, she had expected the recent deluge of arrows to decimate all but a few fortunate survivors. Yet the reality was starkly different. Apart from a handful of unfortunate souls, nearly all remained unscathed. Her gaze soon shifted to the solitary figure of Ru Ming Jiangnan, the only priest present. Judging by her profession, she seemed to possess formidable hidden abilities. A colossal arrow materialized before the old woman, launching itself directly towards Ru Ming Jiangnan. Lu Yu quickly moved to intercept it. However, the arrow veered sharply, narrowly missing his face, and continued its trajectory towards the priestess. Mid-flight, the massive arrow began to split, transforming into 10 standard-sized arrows. Ru Ming Jiangnan gasped, raising a substantial light shield before her, likely a new skill acquired after her first advancement. Unfortunately, the shield proved inadequate against the onslaught of the 10 arrows. The first arrow embedded itself in the shield, causing it to crack. The second shattered the shield entirely, allowing the remaining 8 arrows to strike unimpeded. 9 arrows pierced the area where Ru Ming Jiangnan's heart lay, each inflicting a damage of 20. Just as Lu Yu lifted his staff, he received the notification that the healing target had vanished. The 9 arrows had entered Ru Ming Jiangnan's body almost simultaneously, leaving Lu Yu no time to administer an instant heal. Although her own healing spell was cast in time, the 70 points restored were insufficient to salvage her life. With a dimming gaze, Ru Ming Jiangnan slowly collapsed to the ground. Chapter 309. Resurrection. Lu Yu was instantly engulfed in fury. He brandished his staff, unleashing the divine fire skill. An everlasting flame ignited beneath the feet of the elderly woman and her summoned creature. The naive youth had already leapt beyond the flame's reach. Within a radius of 100, only the relentless output of the summoned creatures and the raging fire remained. The damage inflicted by the divine fire was contingent upon his magical strength, and all his free points had been allocated to enhance this attribute. Consequently, the effects of the divine fire were exceptionally potent, inflicting damage that exceeded even the cumulative output of the summoned creatures. The old woman finally seemed to sense a hint of peril. Her body was held firmly by the summoned creature, leaving her no chance to escape as she watched her health steadily diminish. Her arrow barrage was still on cooldown, so even after eliminating the accursed priestess, she could not rid herself of the goblins that bound her. Slaying a few was futile, as there were simply too many goblins surrounding her. For every few dispatched, others would swiftly replace them. The only solution was to eliminate the sake first, then find a way to gradually deal with the remaining goblins. In the old woman's mind, thoughts flashed by with astonishing speed, from the arrow that struck like a lightning bolt to the dreamlike Jiangnan, to Lu Yu unleashing divine fire, and finally to the reformation of arrows aimed at the fine wine before her, all occurring within the span of mere seconds. Upon witnessing the old woman preparing to unleash her previous skill once more, Lu Yu felt a wave of anxiety. A single skill could instantly deplete 200 health points. Even if he could execute a timely healing spell, it would be of little consequence. The pure-hearted youth once again vanished from sight, disregarding the damage from the divine fire, and lunged behind the old woman, delivering a backstab that blinded and crippled her. Then, utilizing the effect of his innate talent, he escaped from stealth, evading the range of the divine fire. Lu Yu's healing spell fell upon the pure-hearted youth, restoring her health to a safer threshold. Logically, a blinded archer posed nearly no threat. Yet, both Lu Yu and the pure-hearted youth did not share this belief. Otherwise, she would have applied the blinding effect to the old woman at the very beginning. The sudden burst of attacks now felt more like a desperate struggle for survival. Indeed, the old woman, her vision obscured, exhibited neither anger nor excitement. She merely uttered 4 words: target, fine wine. The massive arrow that coalesced shot forth, aimed directly at Lu Yu's position. Instinctively, he attempted to evade, but once the spirit arrow locked onto a target, it would shift direction with any movement of the target. Gritting his teeth, Lu Yu resolved that since death was inevitable, there was no point in futile resistance. The old woman's health had already fallen below half. As long as she remained bound, her demise was merely a matter of time. What Lu Yu needed to do was to hasten that process. Once more, 2 plumes of divine fire descended, and Lu Yu concentrated all 3 groups of divine fire in a single area, allowing their damage values to stack. At this moment, he lamented his lack of a powerful single-target skill. In the past, he had relied on formidable summoned beasts to compensate for his insufficient single-target damage. Now, with his second-tier summoned beasts absent, his weakness had been magnified. If Tianluan were still around, a single strike from him would likely inflict damage surpassing that of the 3 plumes of divine fire combined. But there were no ifs. Lu Yu silently vowed to learn a potent single-target damage skill after this encounter. As these thoughts crossed his mind, the spirit arrow's skill was unleashed, and 10 feathered arrows pierced through his body. The bad news was that this marked his second death of the day. The good news was that he would only lose 1 level upon death. Lu Yu closed his eyes, preparing to embrace his demise. However, the anticipated lightness of death did not arrive. Instead, he witnessed his health bar depleting to 0, only to be instantly restored to full. "Boss, quickly take down that old witch," came the shout from Jiangnan, the dreamlike girl, who, remarkably, had not been killed and had even cast a resurrection spell moments ago. As the young girl turned, Lu Yu remained oblivious to the new talents and skills she had acquired. However, it seemed evident that her strength had significantly increased. Lu Yu had no time to inquire further. His immediate priority was to eliminate the abyssal archer before him. He summoned all the offensive goblins at his disposal. Previously, Mao had specifically gathered pure damage-dealing classes to besiege Lu Yu, so his summoning space was abundant with such professions. A multitude of archers and mages emerged, filling every available position within the attack range. Arrows and spells fell upon the old woman like a torrential downpour. Even Lu Yu himself contributed to the onslaught with his regular attacks. The old woman was taken aback to see the sake, which she believed she had destined to perish, standing unscathed before her. The reason was that the priest, who should have returned to town, had instead chosen to resurrect right where he fell, leaving her in a state of despair. In her plan, eliminating the healing priest followed by Lu Yu, who could continually summon goblins, would allow her to escape before being consumed by the flames. She had anticipated that her arrow rain skill would soon be available again. Although the remaining assassin was also an abyssal class, he was merely a novice and thus not a significant threat. What she had not foreseen was the failure of her plan at its very first step. The priest had not perished, rendering the arrow rain, a skill meant to be a devastating area attack, merely a farce in the face of the healing skill. Both sides operated on percentages, one dealing damage and the other providing healing. While the damage dealt was small, its frequency and rapidity, coupled with splash effects, were formidable. The healing, albeit slower, had a higher percentage than the damage. Ultimately, although the arrow rain inflicted slightly more damage, it could not vanquish the goblins shielded by the healing skill. The old woman's gaze grew colder as her health continued to dwindle, now below 30. Once more, she concentrated her energy to form a massive arrow. In that brief moment, she could conceive no better strategy than to attempt to eliminate the priest again. The arrow was loosed with great speed. However, this time, Lu Yu was prepared. Though the arrow flew swiftly, his response was equally prompt. His healing spell descended upon Ru Mengjiang Nan's head as the arrow was released. Amidst the 20 points of damage, 2 instances of 70 points of healing intertwined. Ru Mengjiang Nan's health plummeted to below half, yet she did not succumb. She withstood the damage resolutely. The old woman's expression darkened further. She had at least been able to kill the priest moments ago, but now even that was beyond her grasp. For an abyssal archer, this was a profound disgrace. Ming Hun now regretted her decision to engage in close combat with the sake. Had she maintained her distance and engaged in ranged combat according to the archer's customary tactics after transitioning from sake, she could have effortlessly toyed with her adversaries, avoiding such a predicament. Alas, no apothecary, regardless of the race, offers potions of regret for sale. Upon witnessing the survival of dreaming Jiangnan, the naive youth grew emboldened. She boldly stepped into the inferno of divine flames, her dagger dancing around the old woman's form, inflicting significant damage. With dreaming Jiangnan sustaining her health, she harbored no fear of perishing in the divine fire. The sole source of her anguish lay in the fact that the flames not only dealt damage but also inflicted intense pain through their searing touch. Nevertheless, for the sake of her elder brother, she endured. What pain is not pain? If she could not withstand this torment inflicted by her brother, how could she bear the other forms of pain he might bring in the future? Reluctantly, Ming Hun unleashed a rain of arrows once more. However, due to the densely packed positioning of summoned beasts, it claimed the lives of several hundred goblins. Yet it was in vain, as Lu Yu promptly summoned new goblins to fill the void. Ming Hun remained ensnared, unable to break free. Ultimately, after struggling to release her last arrow, her health bar vanished. The arrow struck Lu Yu, inflicting 40 damage, only to be swiftly replenished by dreaming Jiangnan's adept healing. As the old woman's form gradually faded, a sigh of relief escaped the trio. An 80-level second transformation abyss archer posed an immense threat to them. Lu Yu felt that the pressure exerted by this old woman rivaled that which he experienced when confronting the son of the underworld. Their ability to vanquish her stemmed not from their harmonious collaboration or their potent class abilities. While their classes were undoubtedly formidable, they were still constrained by their levels and transformations, unable to compare with a second transformation abyss archer. The crux of their success lay in Lu Yu's initial control over the old woman's movements, transforming what should have been an agile archer into a stationary artillery piece. Though powerful, the immobility sealed her fate, leading to her gradual demise. Upon the old woman's corpse dissipating, Lu Yu felt a twinge of regret at being unable to recruit an abyss class. Had he succeeded in summoning this abyss archer into his realm, he would have faced the son of the underworld with newfound confidence, even in solitude. In the place where the old woman's body vanished, a ring remained. An item dropped upon her demise. Lu Yu approached and picked up the ring. Youth, heavenly artifact, level, 80 health, 6,000 defense, 1,000 attack speed, 100 effect. Unrestrained, reduces the user's skill cooldown by 50. When health falls below 50, reduces the user's skill cooldown by 80. The attributes conferred are rather ordinary. However, the sheer audacity of its final effect justifies the title of divine artifact. Lu Yu had encountered effects that reduce skill cooldowns before, yet one that could have it in a single instance was unheard of. This ring is undoubtedly most suitable for magic wielders such as mages and priests, who rely heavily on skill-based damage output. Lu Yu presented the attributes of the ring. Jiangnan, I desire this ring as well, though it seems fitting for you too. We shall vanquish the boss together, so let us cast dice to determine its ownership. In this regard, Lu Yu spoke candidly, without any intention of retreating to advance his position. Ah, guild leader, if you wish for it, take it. My cooldowns are not lengthy, and this ring would serve you better, he added. Enough chatter, let us roll the dice swiftly. The dice, provided by the system, were already in motion as Lu Yu spoke, rolling across the ground before finally resting on the number 2. What a pity, he thought, as hope dwindled with the sight of that number. Ru Ming Jiangnan also cast her dice, which spun twice before landing on a conspicuously large one. Lu Yu? Is this even possible? His face was a mixture of shock and confusion, while Ru Ming Jiangnan sighed in relief. She was more than willing to offer the item to the guild leader, and upon seeing Lu Yu roll a 2, she had felt a twinge of disappointment. But upon observing her own roll of 1, her worries dissipated completely. The only regret she felt was that the item was merely a ring. To receive a ring from the guild leader would have been a truly joyous occasion. Lu Yu shook his head, accepting fate. This ring is now mine. I shall compensate you according to its worth. Although Ru Ming Jiangnan initially insisted that no compensation was necessary, she eventually nodded in agreement after some contemplation. The pure-hearted youth chimed in from the side. Big brother, there are numerous ways to compensate. I believe you could. Before he could finish his thought, Lu Yu playfully tapped him on the head. Without needing further elaboration, Lu Yu could surmise what the young girl was likely hinting at. Once, Ru Ming Jiangnan had been such an innocent girl, yet now she had been influenced by the pure-hearted youth to such an extent. Lu Yu poured his youth into the sorrow of love, and swiftly, all semblance of youth was consumed by this sorrow. Moments later, a lifeless remnant of youth fell to the ground, and the effects of sorrow transformed as follows. Love Sorrow, Divine Artifact, Level, 60 Health, 10,000 Attack, 1,000 Defense, 1,000 Magic Strength, 1,000 Critical Hit, 100 Effect 1. Bound by Love, capable of absorbing attributes and effects of other similarly categorized equipment, significantly enhancing their efficacy. Effect 2. Mastery, reduces the user's level requirement by 25. Effect 3. Venomous Fong, when attacking. There is a 10 chance to inflict the target with a venomous state that lasts for 30 seconds. Effect 4. Frantic Gold Harvest. The gold drop rate from wild monsters is increased tenfold, with a chance to drop rare items. Effect 5. Advancement. Once the number of devoured items reaches 10, the equipment can be upgraded by 1 tier, with the specific attributes of the upgrade correlating to the quality of the devoured items. Effect 6. Unrestrained, reduces the user's skill cooldown by 60 seconds. When health falls below 50, the cooldown is reduced by 90 seconds. Note, remaining devourable quantity, 710, highest devourable tier, Celestial Artifact. The effects of devoured items have been amplified, further reducing the skill cooldown by an additional 10 seconds. Currently, the character has devoured 3 high-quality rings, resulting in an already formidable effect. One can only imagine the strength that will manifest once 10 items are consumed, leading to an advancement to a Celestial Artifact. Chapter 311 Summary. The character Minghun only dropped a single ring. Although it is a Celestial Artifact, it still left a sense of dissatisfaction. The nearby naive youth and dreamlike Jiangnan were even more disheartened. They had initially believed this to be a hidden mining spot, only to discover it was a foreign boss, nearly leading to their group's demise. Minghun is indeed cunning, with the objective of targeting Lu Yu. However, searching for him personally in that expansive area would be a fruitless endeavor. It is far more efficient to disguise oneself as a hidden boss and actively attract attention. Brother, will that Abyss Archer return? Certainly. As an Abyss profession, Minghun can traverse the Abyss at will, entering foreign territories. Moreover, having just been killed, her level has dropped to 79, making her eager to eliminate foreign foes for experience. It is foreseeable that the old hag will soon return to the human realm. However, upon re-entering, as long as her target remains the same, she will not indiscriminately slaughter players or NPCs. The Abyss Archer, unlike the Abyss Summoner, does not command vast armies with a mere gesture. While powerful, her strength is primarily reflected in her individual prowess. Should she find herself surrounded, the outcome would likely be another defeat, forcing her back to the fountain. Lu Yu rubbed the ring of Qingsong, beginning to mentally review and attempt to deduce the talents of the Abyss Archer. Firstly, the damage dealt by the Abyss Archer is entirely percentage-based. This is the most apparent characteristic and the most disconcerting talent. In combat, regardless of whether she employs a basic attack or a skill, the damage inflicted is represented by percentage figures rather than normal damage values. Moreover, this percentage appears to be variable. For instance, the 2 arrows he initially received outside Lingfeng City dealt 50 damage each, while the feather arrows later received by the small golden crow inflicted only 30. In the recent battle, the damage from normal attacks consistently fluctuated between 30-50. Lu Yu sent a message in the small group of 3, Abyss Archer, 1. Talent, damage converted entirely into percentage damage, normal attack damage range, 30-50. The pure-hearted youth and dreamy Jiangnan quickly grasped Lu Yu's intentions and began to ponder. Leader, did you notice that the old woman's attacks felt rather peculiar? Indeed, it seems almost rusted, replied the older brother. Lu Yu nodded. I observed it as well. Her attack speed does not align with what one would expect from an archer. The speed of her feather arrows is average, and both her skills and normal attacks exhibit a wind-up. In fact, the speed at which she unleashed her skills appeared even more fluid than her normal attacks. The two young women nodded in agreement. Lu Yu elaborated in his first follow-up message. The slow attack speed may be a result of talent limitations. The exact cause remains to be determined. He continued with a second message. Her attacks and skill releases do not require the use of weapons or hands. This talent, while seemingly inferior to the first, is nonetheless quite troubling. After successfully restraining Minghun's arms, Lu Yu had felt a glimmer of relief. Yet no one anticipated that the Abyss Archer could still control her arrows through voice. Brother, do you think if we had restrained her hands and simultaneously blinded her while also gagging her, she would have been unable to attack? Lu Yu furrowed his brow in contemplation. While it appeared a rather absurd solution, upon further reflection, it might indeed prove effective. If Minghun could control the arrows with her mind, she would not have uttered the words clear wine to indicate her target after being blinded. However, Lu Yu remained uncertain whether Minghun's actions were a facade meant to deceive, or if she genuinely lacked the ability to control her arrows mentally. This strategy could be considered for future encounters with Minghun. Perhaps it holds the key to her defeat. Yet, achieving the conditions articulated by the pure-hearted youth would not be so simple. This instance was due to Minghun's carelessness, as she was restrained. But next time fortune may not be on their side. The second message also hinted at another talent of the Abyss Archer, target locking and attacks without line of sight. A typical archer's arrows can potentially be evaded with sufficient prediction and rapid response. However, the arrows of the Abyss Archer are capable of changing direction mid-flight. Lu Yu had once attempted to evade the Abyss Archer's arrows through skillful maneuvering, and indeed, he could have evaded them. Yet, what surprised Lu Yu was that after he predicted the trajectory and dodged, the trajectory adjusted itself according to his movements. As for attacks without line of sight, Lu Yu surmised that the range was not particularly close. Previously, during the incident at the North Gate, Minghun had not been within his field of vision, yet he still suffered precise attacks. However, similarly, the range of this visionless attack is not extensive. Otherwise, Minghun would not need to disguise herself as an NPC to lure others. She could simply utter the words, target, sake, and arrow, and they would directly traverse mountains and seas to find Lu Yu. Yet, the exact distance remains unclear to Lu Yu. Based on the scenario at the North Gate, it must be at least over 200 meters, akin to the distance at which Lu Bu wielded his spear at the gate. After noting down these several talents, Lu Yu glanced at the two lovely ladies beside him. Do you have anything to add regarding her abilities? It seems she can also conceal her ID and identity. The pure-hearted youth interjected. Were it not for Minghun's disguise, the pure-hearted youth, Ru Meng Jiangnan, and Cheng Zhu would undoubtedly recognize her as a goblin. Lu Yu shook his head. I believe that should be an item. Lu Yu himself possessed a golden mask. A second transformation Abyss Archer should also be able to acquire a similar item. Then I have nothing further to add. The pure-hearted youth shrugged. Lu Yu then turned his gaze to Ru Meng Jiangnan. After a moment of hesitation, Ru Meng Jiangnan spoke. Leader, while we were battling her earlier, we consistently restricted her movements. I am uncertain whether she possesses any teleportation-related talents or abilities akin to Eagle Eye for long-range vision. Lu Yu nodded. What Ru Meng Jiangnan stated was indeed correct, and had been a point of contemplation for Lu Yu. Ordinarily, a common archer would have a relatively high growth in both movement speed and attack speed. Restrictions indicate that Minghun's attack speed was hampered, but it remains unknown whether her movement speed was similarly constrained or perhaps even enhanced. Let us put that on hold for now. Can we think of anything else? Ru Meng Jiangnan shook her head as well. Lu Yu drew a horizontal line beneath the four summarized talents and inscribed below it, skills. The skills exhibited by Minghun consist of only two, Great Arrow and Arrow Rain. The casting time for Great Arrow is approximately 2-3 seconds, with a cooldown of about 20 seconds. Once the Great Arrow is condensed and released, it splits into 10 smaller arrows, each capable of inflicting 20 damage. Moreover, the small arrows travel swiftly. Had one not been fully focused in advance, there would have been no opportunity for instantaneous healing. The other skill, Arrow Rain, similarly has a casting time of 2-3 seconds, unleashing countless arrows from the sky, with a coverage radius of about 10 meters. Each arrow inflicts 10 damage and possesses splash damage. The duration of Arrow Rain is 5 seconds, during which each target is typically assaulted by over 20 arrows. Lu Yu's summary regarding the skills was swift, and the two young ladies had no further contributions. Chapter 312, the second office thus. A preliminary information template regarding the Abyss Archer has emerged. Spirit of the Echo, Abyss Archer, level, 80 race, Goblin talents. 1. All damage is converted into percentage damage. With a normal attack damage range of 3050, however, the attack speed is limited, averaging 1 arrow per second, requiring a longer cooldown after consecutive strikes. 2. Attacks do not necessitate weapons or the use of both hands, as arrows can be controlled through verbal commands. 3. Target lock. Once an arrow locks onto a target, evasion through movement is rendered futile. 4. Offside attack. Capable of attacking targets outside of the line of sight, with a maximum attack range starting at 200 meters. Skills 1. Great Arrow, total damage of 200. 2. Feather Arrow, area damage with splash effects. Remarks. It remains uncertain whether there are any displacement talents or skills possessed. Liu Yu shared this summarized information in the Abyss Lord's large group, immediately inciting fervent discussions among the members. The uncontentious also became aware of the true identity of the recent boss and promptly sent Liu Yu a message of concern, along with a self-reflection. To this, Liu Yu bore no ill will. Rather, he offered words of comfort. After all, employing items to conceal one's true identity for deceptive purposes is an endeavor that is difficult for anyone to guard against. Had Liu Yu not been killed by the Abyss Archer previously and gleaned some information about her, he too might have been caught off guard initially. As for the discussions in the group, Liu Yu chose not to partake. He had shared the information to assert his presence, having not spoken in the group for quite some time. Furthermore, he aimed to invigorate the atmosphere and foster a broader understanding of other Abyss professions among the members. In truth, few could claim to possess greater knowledge of Abyss professions than those within the Abyss Lord's ranks, especially given that the only two Abyss professions in Lingfeng City resided with the Abyss Lord. However, there was a more subtle reason behind Liu Yu's disclosure in the group. He sought to subtly cultivate a sense of racial awareness among the guild members. He harbored a vague feeling that this instance of the Abyss might well arrive sooner than anticipated. The actions of the underworld race, alongside the goblins' aggressive incursions into the three major secondary human cities, were phenomena that had never occurred in his previous life. Moreover, the interracial traversing through the Abyss was becoming increasingly frequent. Not only had he caused a ruckus within the underworld race, but other races had also maintained their activities among the humans, intensifying in fervor. This was merely the state of the secondary cities. The conditions of the primary cities remained unknown. Although the primary cities had yet to be opened, their existence was undeniable. Liu Yu could not fathom that the various races would relinquish their infiltration of the human primary cities. Gradually, the discussions in the group shifted towards which Abyss profession was the most formidable, with the Abyss Archer's percentage damage astonishing everyone profoundly. If one could vanquish a boss with just a few arrows, it would indeed be terrifying. Liu Yu also shared his perspective in the group. This percentage-based damage seems to apply indiscriminately, whether to bosses or ordinary monsters, at least below level 4. As for those above level 4, Liu Yu recalled the conversation with Jin Wu regarding the concept of life levels, and thus refrained from further comment. However, such percentage damage is not entirely unmanageable. The tactic of overwhelming numbers is one method of countering it, as is the strategy of eliminating her before she can strike you down. Much like the former son of the underworld, who effortlessly dispatched Liu Yu's numerous second-tier summons. In desperate times, one might even stack shields. This insight was sparked when Liu Yu observed the light shield of Ru Meng Jiangnan. The shield was rather flimsy, easily shattered by a single feathered arrow. Yet, what if one were to employ the golden shield of the Jinjin beast? Even the Abyss Archer Ming Hun would likely require a considerable effort to breach it. Naturally, the prerequisites for achieving such conditions are quite steep. Nonetheless, the abyssal classes are not something mere mortals can contend with. Liu Yu alone could challenge 1,000,000 players. The pure-hearted youth post-transformation appeared and vanished like a shadow, virtually invincible below the second tier. Following the leader's words, the discussion in the group grew increasingly fervent. Even the renowned healer Ru Meng Jiangnan was drawn into the conversation. However, when a crowd of gentlemen engage in discourse, the topic inevitably strays, ultimately culminating in discussions about which young lady possesses the fairest beauty or the longest legs. They would then cheer for the goddess of the group to share her photos. The girls in the group were equally spirited, easily teasing the older gentlemen into blushing. Observing the guild members banter and bicker, Liu Yu couldn't help but feel a sense of joy. In a group of 10,000, the chat moved at a rapid pace, overwhelming yet exhilarating. Despite the fast flow, many were engrossed in reviewing past messages. After a while, Liu Yu decided to exit the chat. He then contemplated and sent the information on the Abyss Archer to Li Wei and Du Guohua. This was purely for the sake of information sharing. Liu Yu was uncertain how many were aware of the true nature of the Abyss, but these two were undoubtedly among the most significant. With the fall of Lingfeng City, the establishment of Ji City, and the opening of the Golden Stone Secret Realm, both individuals were kept exceedingly busy, particularly Li Wei, who had not logged off for several consecutive days. Nevertheless, upon receiving Liu Yu's message, he promptly expressed his gratitude. For the officials, acquiring first-hand information is immensely beneficial, and the data on abyssal classes is undoubtedly a focal point of their interest. Li Wei also disclosed to Liu Yu that the second office of the Huan Bureau is in the process of being established. In just a few words, a wealth of information was conveyed. Liu Yu believed that this information should be classified as an official secret. Nevertheless, Li Wei still disclosed it to him, likely hoping for his cooperation. Indeed, Li Wei soon sent another message. In a few days, a delegation from the dwarves would arrive to discuss an alliance with the human race. However, they had a prerequisite. The Abyss Summoner must first visit the dwarves. Chapter 313. More friends, fewer enemies, a visit to the dwarves? Upon seeing this demand, Liu Yu's initial reaction was to wonder whether his destruction of one of their cities had been discovered. He feared that the dwarves might deceive him into coming over, only to ambush him. After all, the ability to completely annihilate a race should not be exclusive to the child of the underworld. Yet, he recalled that he had worn a golden mask during that operation. leaving little room for error. Moreover, the dwarves were the ones initiating the discussion about an alliance, making his visit seem more like an additional condition. However, even if the dwarves had indeed unearthed some clues and wished to eliminate him, it would be a foolish fantasy. The Lu Yu of today was not the same as the one who had first visited the dwarves. Back then, he had merely commanded 10,000 goblins and a few thousand underworld guards. Now, the number of his summoned beasts had multiplied tenfold, and their quality had significantly improved. Most importantly, he now possessed a third-tier golden crow. Although its appearance was brief due to the influence of underworld poison in the face of danger, he could summon the golden crow and use a teleportation scroll to escape without issue. Lu Yu, this matter has been discussed in our office. Your identity is unique. Although the dwarves are approaching us in goodwill, it is not entirely safe. My suggestion is to refrain from going. However, there are voices in the office advocating for your representation of the human race in these negotiations. Ultimately, the decision rests with you. After a moment of contemplation, Lu Yu inquired, is there a negotiation timeframe with the dwarves? Within 5 days. Lu Yu, do you intend to go? Yes. I believe their willingness to ally with the human race primarily stems from my status as an abyss summoner among them. Li Wei paused for a moment before replying, indeed. Although the other party did not explicitly state it during our previous discussions, I could discern that this was their underlying intention. Then I should certainly go. However, I need to attend to some matters first, which will take about 3 days. After I finish, I will visit the dwarves. All right, do you require any assistance? Our office now has greater financial support and more personnel than before. Not for now. If the need arises, I will not hesitate to ask. Ha ha ha, good. Just let me know in advance when you plan to leave. Lu Yu sent an affirmative gesture. He hesitated momentarily, but ultimately decided against revealing his suspicions regarding the impending arrival of the abyss. This is merely a sentiment experienced by Lu Yu. Informing the authorities would only serve to exacerbate the pressure. Currently, the Huan Bureau is operating beyond its capacity. Within a mere 3 days since the report from Huan Tianxiao regarding the method of early entry into the alien races provided by Lu Yu, the Bureau has already discerned the intention of the Dwarven race to form an alliance. The establishment of the second office is primarily aimed at engaging in diplomacy and gathering intelligence on foreign races. The Huan Bureau has begun to attempt infiltrating its influence into these alien factions, though still in its nascent stages. This marks a significant transformation, from passively eliminating spies among the human race to proactively dispatching agents abroad. Remarkably, this transition has occurred in less than 2 months. While Li Wei only disclosed to Lu Yu that the Dwarven race sought an alliance with the humans, Lu Yu surmised that the Huan Bureau had likely reached out to more than just the dwarves in recent days. Indeed, there are likely other races also desiring an alliance with humanity. Within the Abyss, most of the weaker races are in need of protection. However, the 4 ancient races do not provide such shelter. Despite their verbal assurances of goodwill, their actions often result in the relentless plundering of resources. In contrast, the rising power of humanity has consistently signaled a desire for peace. Uniting all possible allies, multiplying friends while diminishing foes, embodies the wisdom of a great leader. Nevertheless, Lu Yu does not intend to engage in the endeavor of uniting friends. He is not a representative of the authorities. His focus lies in confronting and finding solutions to those adversaries that cannot be allied with. Lu Yu closed the dialogue box with Li Wei before approaching the Dwarven race. He needed to first assist Chen Zhu in securing a hidden position within the Armorer's Guild. Additionally, he possessed a stag token in his backpack, which could be utilized to establish a territory for his faction. With a membership exceeding 10,000, it was time they acquired a rightful base. Once these 2 paramount tasks were completed, he would be ready to embark on his journey. Oh, and he must not forget to collect high-quality ores from the Golden Stone Secret Realm. The 2 young ladies remained by Lu Yu's side, eagerly inquiring, "Brother, where are we headed next?" The Golden Stone Secret Realm would be accessible for 24 hours, and they had barely passed 4 hours. In this time, the 2 girls had likely not gathered any ores and had merely spent their time with what they presumed to be a hidden NPC. "Come, I shall lead you to the mines," Lu Yu declared. He checked the coordinates of the summoned beasts left at the elderly care center and then made his way with the innocent youth and the dreamy Jiangnan. Upon their arrival, the trio at the elderly care center was energetically directing their summoned beasts to overwhelm a level 70 boss. The excitement among them was palpable, particularly for Yi Chai Guofu men, who relished the exhilarating experience of commanding such a multitude of summoned creatures, feeling akin to a general leading a vast army. The formidable level 70 boss, which he typically dared not gaze upon, now found itself in a precarious situation, akin to a helpless chick under the relentless assault of summoned creatures. Although the boss was indeed of level 70, the goblins, also summoned, were merely in their 60s, lacking any substantial advantage in levels. Their only benefits lay in slightly thicker health pools and superior skills. However, these advantages became trivial in the face of the sheer number of summoned beasts. What man has not fantasized about wielding a spear and commanding a million-strong army? At this moment, the trio's experience was akin to that feeling. "Second brother, hurry and have your shield warrior block that gap. Eldest brother, your archers need to up their damage output to hold aggro. Watch me maneuver around for a backstab." Nai Chai Guafu Min shouted excitedly. Resembling a child who had just received a gaming console, Lu Yu and the pure-hearted youth paused, observing Nai Chai Guafu Min as he orchestrated the battle from a distance. They had arrived undetected, thanks to the pure-hearted youth's stealth. Lu Yu felt no ire towards Knight Chai Guafu Min for his audacious command over the summoned beasts. He was not so petty. In fact, he had left the goblins behind precisely for this purpose. However, witnessing Knight Chai Guafu Min's demeanor and the rhythm of his commands revealed a remarkable ability to control the battlefield, something not possessed by just anyone. While the boss's weakness played a part, Knight Chai Guafu Min's personal competence was undeniable. Perhaps it would be worthwhile to consider cultivating him for a position akin to a legion commander? Chapter 314. The plan to defeat the elderly home. Lu Yu retained this thought, but had no intention of acting on it immediately. He understood the characters of the three individuals involved. Allowing Knight Chai Guafu Min to ascend to the rank of commander would pose significant risks. This matter required careful deliberation. For now, the priority was to gather the ores. The boss battle was nearing its conclusion. Knight Chai Guafu Min, dagger in hand, prepared to personally confront the boss. Yet, as he entered stealth mode, he was abruptly pulled back by punching the elderly home. Eldest brother, what's the matter? Let the guild leader's summoned beast handle the kill. We can observe from the sidelines. Why? A level 70 boss is enough for each of us to gain a level. I still want to reach level 40 to make my first class change. Punching the elderly home staff struck Knight Chai Guafu Min on the head. Abandon such thoughts. Without the guild leader's summoned beasts, could we possibly defeat a boss of this caliber? You can indulge in your fantasy of commanding thousands, but the experience should go to the guild leader. But Qingjiu is not lacking in experience. He is already level 60. Knight Chai Guafu Min felt aggrieved after being lectured by his elder brother. The guild leader's needs were his own concern, while whether or not he benefited was another matter entirely. For now, as they followed the guild leader for sustenance, he ought not harbor ulterior motives. Moreover, you should refrain from incessantly referring to the leader as Qingjiu. I understand that your past encounters with the leader have left you somewhat disgruntled. However, we find ourselves in their territory now, and it would be prudent to address the leader appropriately. Knight kicking the widow's door reluctantly acquiesced. He was well aware of his younger brother's temperament and knew that, deep down, he still harbored some resentment. Yet, out of respect for his elder brother's authority, he refrained from verbal disputes. Having been spoiled since childhood, only his elder brother could manage him. This would require gradual guidance. Knight kicking the widow's door resolved to align himself with Qingjiu henceforth. He perceived that Qingjiu genuinely cared for the members of the gang. The financial dealings within the gang were always transparent, with clear records of each member's contributions and rewards. Lu Yu, by habit, would discard any unnecessary items into the gang's storage. There was hardly anything in the storage that he required. This situation, when documented, indicated that the leader was providing various benefits to the gang members without expecting anything in return. Knight kicking the widow's door believed that following such a leader not only promised a hopeful future, but also offered immediate rewards. He sheathed his dagger and ceased commanding his summoned beasts, sulking in silence. Soon, the boss was vanquished by a fireball spell, its rocky form shattering into fragments, among which were numerous ores. Knight kicking the widow's door commanded his summoned beasts to collect the ores and organize them into a designated formation, comprising goblins clutching various minerals. He, along with other goblins, ventured into the cave behind the boss. Foot kicking the kindergarten patted Knight kicking the widow's door on the shoulder, urging him to rise and leave his despondency behind. A portion of those ores belongs to us. Do you not wish to see what treasures lie within? Upon hearing his second brother's words, Knight kicking the widow's door finally stood up and followed him into the cave. Lu Yu and the other two stealthily trailed behind. This time, Lu Yu deliberately chose not to notify Knight kicking the widow's door, sneaking in quietly. He remained apprehensive about these three individuals, who previously thrived by robbing isolated players. Old habits die hard. Lu Yu did not believe that these individuals had transformed into paragons of virtue in merely a few days since joining the Abyss Lord. However, judging by recent events, it seemed that the eldest, Knight kicking the widow's door, was beginning to grasp certain truths. The second brother was taciturn yet manageable. The third brother, the most unruly of the trio, was kept in check by his elder sibling, at least for the time being. Upon entering the cave, they were enveloped in darkness. With a commanding presence, the elderly care center's pugilist directed the summoned beasts, brandishing a torch and mining ore. The quality of this cavern was mediocre, yielding only a handful of diamond-grade minerals, yet the quantity was commendable. A smile crept onto the pugilist's lips. Such or may not hold significant value to Lu Yu. But for the pugilist, it was a bountiful harvest. Even if they could only obtain a mere 10%, it would still constitute a substantial fortune. As Yi Chai Guafu Min entered and beheld the abundance of diamond ore, his earlier despondency vanished. Brother, with this much ore, we can indulge ourselves for quite some time. You best not think of secretly hoarding any for yourself. Of course not. I'm not foolish. Besides, his summoned beasts are watching, the pugilist replied. Yi Chai Guafu Min still refrained from addressing him as leader but opted for a more ambiguous term. It wasn't merely a matter of whether the leader's summoned beasts were surveilling. A gentleman maintains integrity in solitude. Lu Yu raised an eyebrow, impressed that the pugilist was well-versed enough to quote such wisdom about integrity. Were it not for the certainty that the innocent young man's stealth would go undetected, Lu Yu might have doubted whether the pugilist was aware of his proximity. Understood, understood. Brother, what do you propose we do with these ores? Yichai Guafu Min asked impatiently, dismissing his brother's lecture. Actually, I have another plan I wish to discuss with you, the pugilist said. What plan? Yichai Guafu Min immediately leaned in closer. The pugilist cast a sidelong glance at his younger brother and continued, I intend to use these ores to exchange for a few boss-level summoned beasts from the leader. Why exchange for summoned beasts? Yichai Guafu Min blurted out, though the foot-kicking kindergarten quietly nodded in agreement. The only summoned beasts available for exchange within the gang were ordinary ones. While formidable, they lacked the prowess to confront bosses. Currently, gang members had to share experience and loot when battling bosses. If we could acquire our own boss-level summoned beast, we would be able to challenge bosses solo, leading to rewards far surpassing those from these ores. Furthermore, it would ensure sustainable development. As the pugilist elaborated, Yichai Guafu Min quickly grasped his brother's intent and found the proposal quite enticing. Chapter 3:15. Cultivation List. Lu Yu, listening intently to the pugilist's thoughts, couldn't help but acknowledge the elder brother's sharp intellect. It was the pugilist who had initially suggested trading the Abyssal Eye for a chance to join the Abyssal Lord. Lu Yu even mused that had it not been for the need to drag along the third brother, the pugilist alone could surely thrive in Lingfeng City. However, the current dilemma had now fallen to Lu Yu. Should one consent to such an exchange? Since the inception of the Abyssal Lord, there has been no precedent for acquiring a boss-level summoned beast from Lu Yu. The only exception comes from Chunju's faction, which possesses a single abyss-level wild creature. Others hold only elite monsters at best. Initially, this was due to Lu Yu's insufficient stock of boss-level wild creatures, which he could barely utilize himself. Although he later amassed a sufficient number of boss-level summoned beasts, they remained on foreign territory. Presently, Lu Yu does possess a considerable collection of boss-level summoned beasts, predominantly around levels 60 and 70, primarily comprising centurions and vice-captains from various legions. However, he lacks any legion commanders. In the past, the flames of the little golden crow radiated outward from its core, yet none of the commanders deigned to engage directly on the front lines. This has culminated in Lu Yu accumulating a plethora of level 60 summoned beasts, yet none have undergone their second transformation. Should he trade away these centurions and vice-captains? Lu Yu shook his head. The commander position was already vacant, and exchanging these minor bosses would precipitate a collapse of his command structure. Aside from the boss-level summoned beasts within the legions, the remaining boss-level creatures were recently captured upon entering the Golden Stone secret realm. He had collected over a dozen, all acquired while traversing the path to seek the Tianji Stone. However, their quality was lacking. These creatures were primarily level 40, having just undergone their first transformation. Lu Yu regarded them with disdain. A level 40 boss was insignificant in his eyes, as anyone randomly selected from his legion would be at least level 60. Although only those exceptional enough among the foreign races are designated as boss level, their low levels still fail to impress Lu Yu. Could he trade several level 40 bosses to the three brothers? He shook his head once more, resolutely deciding to reject this proposal. Should he acquiesce to their request for exchange, it would necessitate placing the boss wild creatures into the guild warehouse for all to redeem. It would be unreasonable to allow only these three brothers to exchange while denying others the same opportunity. However, boss-level wild creatures are ill-suited for inclusion in the guild warehouse. This is not merely a matter of quantity. Lu Yu cannot ensure that every guild member possesses a boss-level summoned beast, yet he can impose limits on their numbers. His concern lies in the potential uncontrollable variables that would arise if anyone could exchange for boss-level summoned beasts. In Lu Yu's experience, boss-level creatures have almost been trivialized to the status of elite monsters. Yet to the average player, the term boss level carries significant weight. A guild must mobilize collectively to hunt a single boss, and even then, success is not guaranteed. If the individual who exchanged for the boss-level summoned beast were to take this creature to engage in destructive acts, such as directly annihilating springs or teleportation arrays, the elite monsters might not inflict significant damage on these vital locations, yet the boss certainly could. Although the ultimate control over the summoned beast remains with Lu Yu, he may not be able to detect its misuse in a timely manner. After much contemplation, Lu Yu ultimately abandoned this notion. However, the idea of attacking a nursing home sparked a thought. While boss-level summoned beasts cannot be exchanged for personal use, some that are of no utility to him could be left for communal use by the guild. During the guild's battles against other bosses, having several boss-level summoned beasts assisting would undoubtedly ease the challenges faced. The only concern lies in where to keep these summoned beasts when not in use. Previously, the summoned beasts Lu Yu provided for the welfare of guild members were stationed at the northern gate of Lingfeng City. The city walls of Lingfeng are extensive, allowing thousands of summoned beasts to occupy only a small fraction of the space. However, having relocated to Juyi City, Lu Yu realized that the scale of this city is considerably smaller than Lingfeng. Just moments ago, a pile of 10,000 goblins outside the southern city nearly caused a traffic jam. Fortunately, the timely exchange by the Abyss Lord's people alleviated the pressure at the southern gate significantly. Otherwise, it is likely that on the very first day of G City's establishment, urban planning issues would have arisen. It appears that possessing one's own territory is becoming an urgent necessity. As Liu pondered this, the ore within the cave was nearly exhausted. He raised his head towards the two young ladies beside him, signaling that they could exit. The group emerged from the cave and deactivated their stealth mode at the entrance. Liu preferred that the three brothers remain oblivious to his clandestine observations of them. His concern was not rooted in a fear of provoking a crisis of trust. In truth, both parties should be well aware that Liu does not harbor a profound trust in the trio. They entered the guild through the eye of the abyss, rather than being selected based on their abilities, which inherently breeds a lack of trust in Liu, especially considering they were once fierce adversaries in the novice village. His intention for exiting was to prevent the brothers from realizing he was spying on them. Should they discover his covert observations, they would become wary, rendering subsequent surveillance unreliable. At that moment, the last of the ore was finally transported out of the cave, and the group, led by the one who attacked the nursing home, exited with his two brothers, just in time to see Liu and his companions returning on horseback from a distance. To enhance the authenticity of their ruse, Liu and the others deliberately moved farther away after leaving the cave, pretending to have just returned. Lingering softly, Meng Jiangnan murmured, "Leader, do we truly need to be so cautious around these three? Even if they discover we are observing them, what harm could it cause?" The elder brother's actions are indeed rooted in his optimism towards these three individuals, are they not? With further observation, one might find that he could very well include them in the cultivation roster. This cultivation roster was established by the uncontentious one upon uncovering the truths of the abyss, primarily aimed at identifying and nurturing talents within the faction, preparing for the impending arrival of the abyss. In addition to this cultivation roster, the uncontentious one possesses a headhunting list, specifically targeting outstanding individuals from other factions, with intentions to poach them. The majority of names on this headhunting list are from the Champion Alliance. It is inevitable, given that the uncontentious one was once a member of the Champion Alliance. He is acutely aware of the prowess of its experts. The headhunting list has long been in existence, while the cultivation roster was established just today, currently featuring individuals such as the determined and the spirited little bear, who were among the first to enter the abyss. Others, such as the pure-hearted youth and dreaming Jiangnan, are not included in the cultivation roster as they already possess exceptional skills, rendering further cultivation unnecessary. As Chapter 316 unfolds, it becomes evident that Liu indeed harbors intentions to incorporate the three brothers into the cultivation roster. However, as previously stated, his level of trust in them remains considerably low. Only the performance of the one who strikes the elder care home has garnered his approval, while the other two elicit a shake of his head. There is no rush in this matter. He decides to observe them for a while longer. Descending from his mount, Liu is approached by the one who strikes the elder care home. "Chief, we have just excavated the last of the ore from this cavern. This is the final diamond-grade mining site that I could detect. The remaining diamond-quality ores are quite scattered and scarce. I have ensured that all previously mined ores are securely stored with your summoned beasts." The one who strikes the elder care home presented a group of goblins cradling a multitude of ores. Liu surveyed the dense array of ores, both large and small, totaling nearly 10,000 pieces. Among them, 1/10 were of the earth grade, 60% of diamond grade, and the remaining 30% comprised dark gold and gold ores. The dark gold and gold ores were likely mined incidentally, as it is improbable for a cavern to contain only ores of diamond grade and above. Liu collected 90% of several grades of ores and gestured towards the remaining ores. "These are yours. Since there are no concentrated mining sites left, there is no need to pursue the scattered ones. We must leave some reserves for others." The one who strikes the elder care home hesitated, refraining from taking the ores. And after a moment, he spoke. "Chief, we have a request." Liu maintained a stoic expression, seemingly unaware of what request the one who strikes the elder care home was alluding to. "What request?" "We wish to exchange these ores for a boss-level summoned beast." Liu was momentarily taken aback, caught off guard by the one who strikes the elder care home's proposition, yet a glimmer of approval shone in his eyes. Just when the thought of assaulting the nursing home seemed promising, Liu shook his head and remarked, "I will not summon a boss-level creature, but I admire your ambition. Work diligently, and perhaps I may make an exception for you in the future." The prospect of assaulting the nursing home felt somewhat disheartened. Behind him, the duo known as the Foot Kicker and the Night Raider wore equally glum expressions. Initially, they had envisioned commanding a boss-level creature to wreak havoc, but it turned out to be a mere daydream. However, upon hearing Liu's subsequent words, their spirits were rekindled. The grand vision Liu painted was savored by the trio with great satisfaction. "For now, I do not require anything from you. There are still several hours before the closing of the Goldenstone Secret Realm, and you have the opportunity to mine other ores. Leader, we shall take our leave then." Liu nodded, and the three brothers departed with their ores in hand. Despite having amassed a wealth of high-tier ores, the thought of returning to dig low-grade ores felt rather disheartening. Nevertheless, they chose to remain in the Goldenstone Secret Realm, resolute in their decision to mine. Even the smallest morsel is still sustenance, and having recently experienced dire financial straits, they were determined to seize every opportunity for profit. Little did they know, the wealth they were accumulating would soon be rendered worthless, akin to mere scraps of paper in a few months' time. Elder brother, what shall we do next? Lu Yu had initially intended to take the two young ladies mining, but was surprised by the brother's swift actions in clearing out all the high-tier mining spots. The best ores here have been nearly exhausted. I plan to return and consult my mentor for some blueprints to forge these ores into equipment. You may accompany me to Forge, where you can engage in mining and leveling with the untroubled. I want to forge equipment with elder brother. The innocent youth declared without hesitation, finding little interest in seeking out the bald untroubled now that the top-tier ores were gone. I too wish to stay with the leader, murmured dreamy Jiangnan, timidly raising a hand. Very well, let us proceed. The group produced their city return scrolls, and in a flash of light, they arrived at the teleportation array in the gathering city. In most secondary main cities, the teleportation arrays are typically located beneath springs. Yet Sun Hanyu chose to separate the two during construction. Whether this was due to technical limitations or other reasons remains unknown. Nonetheless, the sensation of utilizing a return scroll is exhilarating. Every time Lu Yu used a return scroll, he felt a little lighter in spirit. Had it not been for his mentor's city-building efforts, he might not have experienced such an efficient mode of travel prior to the opening of the first-tier main city. Reflecting on the impending opening of the first-tier main city, Lu Yu was reminded of his own level, which stood at a mere 60. Before the establishment of Gathering City and the Goblin Siege, one of his goals was to elevate his level to 80, paving the way for the first-tier main city's emergence. In this life, the restrictions of the novice village have vanished, resulting in a significant increase in the number of players entering the secondary main city. While this is a positive development, it has inadvertently given rise to another issue. The capacity of the secondary main city is somewhat insufficient. Although the establishment of the Gathering City has alleviated the situation to some extent, it is imperative to unlock the primary main city at the earliest opportunity. Returning to Gathering City, Lu Yu casually sought out a shop to inquire about the whereabouts of Master Wu Tianjue. Prior to the city's establishment, as long as Wu Tianjue had not ventured outside, he would undoubtedly be laboring in the courtyard of Sun Hanyu. However, now that the city has been built, Lu Yu could not ascertain where his mentor was toiling. The shopkeeper recognized Lu Yu. Anyone familiar with Gathering City would certainly keep abreast of those closely associated with the city lord. Naturally, Qing Jiu, the sole apprentice of the city lord, was the focal point of interest for the owners of various establishments. Upon hearing that Lu Yu was searching for Wu Tianjue, the shopkeeper suddenly appeared somewhat embarrassed. Young city lord, Master Wu has encountered a bit of trouble recently. Trouble? What kind of trouble? Well, I'm not entirely sure. Earlier today, he was seen running around the city in a state of frenzy. Ultimately, he had to be carried back by the city lord's men, and the city lord even summoned the finest physicians and clerics to attend to Master Wu. Rumor has it on the streets that Master Wu has become obsessed with some blueprints for firearms, leading him to madness. Lu Yu was taken aback. The notion that Wu Tianjue could succumb to madness over research related to firearms was entirely unexpected. How could a distinguished celestial tier armorer lose his sanity over a blueprint of at most dark gold quality? Was the craftsmanship of the dwarven race truly so extraordinary? The shopkeeper's description did not seem fabricated. After all, the entire street had witnessed Wu Tianjue's erratic behavior, and there was no reason for the shopkeeper to deceive him. After expressing his gratitude to the shopkeeper, Lu Yu proceeded with the two young ladies towards the city lord's mansion. Fortunately, Ruming Jiangnan had accompanied him. He wondered if there were any corresponding healing skills possessed by the clerics for treating such a mental affliction. Perhaps casting a few blessings might yield some effect? Contemplating this, he stepped into the city lord's mansion. Outside the mansion, the two guards did not impede his entry. Rather, they greeted Lu Yu warmly. They were familiar faces. Having previously served as guards at Sun Hanyu's entrance, he recalled that during his first visit, Sun Hanyu had ordered his castration, and these two had come in to escort him out. Now, their continued presence at the entrance indicated Sun Hanyu's trust in them. As the three entered the city lord's mansion, they were immediately struck by the bustling atmosphere. A flurry of clerics, physicians, and apothecaries were coming and going, carrying an assortment of medicinal herbs and vividly colored vials. In a side room, they could see Wu Tianjue bound to a bed, thrashing about wildly. He vociferously shouted a series of strange phrases. Too small, too small. I aspire to grow larger, to extend further, larger, longer. Lu Yu pressed his lips together, gazing at the innocent youth beside him and the ethereal Jiangnan. The two young ladies appeared entirely unfazed, seemingly oblivious to the peculiar implications of Wu Tianju's words. Alas, so, do these two only exhibit such feelings when in my presence? Lu Yu stepped into the adjoining room, where he found Sun Hanyu and Sun Miao both present. Though Sun Hanyu often voiced her grievances about her loyal servants, her heart raced with anxiety when matters grew serious. Aside from Sun Tianhua and Lu Yu, these individuals were her closest companions. One could even deem them family. Sun Miao, meanwhile, observed Wu Tianju's condition while preparing a potion. As a celestial tier apothecary, his expertise surpassed that of all the healers combined in attendance. Those summoned by Sun Hanyu were merely precautionary. It was Sun Miao who was the primary physician tending to Wu Tianju. Upon noticing Lu Yu's arrival, Sun Hanyu expressed mild surprise. Shouldn't you be in the Jinshi secret realm? How did you return so swiftly? I gathered what I needed and returned early. I initially intended to acquire a few usable blueprints, but upon hearing that the mentor had succumbed to madness, I decided to come see for myself. The mentor in question undoubtedly referred to Wu Tianju. Sun Hanyu gestured towards Wu Tianju, who was bound to the bed. After you provided him with that firearm blueprint today, he locked himself away in the forge for research and skipped lunch. I thought it rare for the old chap to be so diligent, only for him to suddenly end up like this. Uncle Sun is at a loss as well, Sun Miao remarked, holding a vial. This was already the 7th potion he had concocted. It seems this old fellow has lost his wits. Although I've encountered such cases before, this one's quite troublesome. It's rather inconvenient, especially now that the Unity City has just been established and requires manpower. He is causing a ruckus. Uncle. Old Wu merely wishes to add a unique flair to Unity City. I know. Sigh. This old coot has always been a handful. He almost drank himself to death once, and it was I who pulled him back from the brink. Let us hope he finds luck this time as well. Lu Yu glanced at the ethereal Jiangnan beside him. Do you possess any targeted skills? Jiangnan's secondary abilities were unreliable, particularly since her mentor was at a loss here. I recently learned a new skill to dispel chaotic states. We can give it a try, the young lady said, raising her staff. A beam of pure white light emanated from it, descending upon Wu Tianju's head. Immediately, his struggles ceased, and his cries faded as his gaze gradually cleared. What just happened to me? Lu Yu raised an eyebrow, astonished at how quickly he recovered. The skill of the Holy Hand appears to be remarkably effective. Sun Hanyu and Sun Miao were equally astonished as they glanced at the seemingly normal Wu Tianju, then at Ru Meng Jiangnan. So many individuals had attempted countless methods, yet none had yielded any results, and this young girl had cured him with a single skill? Lu Yu stepped forward. You were just engrossed in studying the blueprints for the musket, and as a result, you drove yourself to madness. Oh, right, the musket blueprints. Yes, the musket. Wu Tianju suddenly shouted again. Its range can be extended, its power can be amplified. I shall make it longer. I shall make it greater. Wu Tianju howled, once more descending into a frenzied state, his hands flailing wildly in the air. Fortunately, he had not yet been untied, otherwise, he would have needed to be restrained again. Lu Yu felt a sense of helplessness. He had merely reminded Wu Tianju of the reason behind his madness. And yet the old man had spiraled into this state once more. Ru Meng Jiangnan cast her skill again, and a beam of white light descended upon Wu Tianju's head. However, this time, the skill produced no effect whatsoever. Has he developed a resistance? Sun Hanyu and Sun Miao shook their heads, having just glimpsed a glimmer of hope, only to see it dashed immediately. With a sigh, Sun Hanyu remarked, Uncle Sun, I have many matters to attend to. I shall leave Wu Laotu in your care. Sun Miao nodded. Miss, you may go about your business. I will continue my research. As he spoke, he turned to Ru Meng Jiangnan. Disciple, please demonstrate that skill for me. I wish to see if it sparks any inspiration. Ru Meng Jiangnan raised her staff and released the skill towards Sun Miao. He closed his eyes to sense it, sinking into contemplation. Sun Hanyu had already departed, and Lu Yu surveyed the surroundings before stepping outside. He made his way to Wu Tianju's forge, as he felt that the reason his mentor had succumbed to madness lay hidden within the blueprints. Surely, it couldn't be that the dwarf's blueprint was flawed? Yet, the armorer within the guild had crafted numerous muskets without succumbing to madness. Lu Yu pushed open the door to the forge, which was essentially a large courtyard. On one side of the courtyard was a shelter from rain and sun, beneath which stood a long, substantial wooden table adorned with various tools. The furnace here was still aglow, although the courtyard was well ventilated. It still bore the heavy scent of charcoal and metal. Lu Yu approached the table and soon spotted the musket blueprints he had provided to Wu Tianju. Surrounding these blueprints lay a haphazard array of sketches, seemingly drafts Wu Tianju had created in an attempt to improve the musket. Chapter 318. The blueprints. As a master blacksmith of the heavenly level, Lu Yu suspected he would likely struggle to comprehend the manuscripts. However, driven by curiosity, he began to arrange the sketches. This blueprint appeared to resemble a gun barrel. This seems to be a spring mechanism. Is this a magazine? Do muskets even have magazines? And this? A scope? Lu Yu muttered to himself as he endeavored to piece together the shape of a firearm from the various blueprints. However, when he meticulously arranged all the blueprints, the rudimentary form of a rifle emerged. This. Lu Yu's first reaction was that this was not merely a firearm, but a rifle. Moreover, it was not an ordinary rifle. Its design bore an uncanny resemblance to a sniper rifle. Although there remained a significant gap between the blueprint and an authentic sniper rifle, the weapon's prototype was already discernible. It seemed that there were merely a few critical aspects where Wu Tianju had yet to devise a solution. Was his mentor attempting to engineer a barrel directly from the schematics of a firearm? Gazing at the array of blueprints, Lu Yu could vividly imagine Wu Tianju's fervor. He must have completely immersed himself in the endeavor upon acquiring the blueprints. Lu Yu could effortlessly envision Wu Tianju hunched over the desk, almost willing to sacrifice his very life to bring this weapon to fruition, especially when such research encountered obstacles. The torment must have felt akin to 1,000 ants crawling over him. Upon contemplating this, Lu Yu seemed to grasp something profound. He felt he understood how to alleviate Wu Tianju's affliction. By assisting his mentor in resolving those few unresolved critical points, Wu Tianju should regain his vitality. Naturally, Lu Yu was not adept at developing a sniper rifle. In reality, he had never even held a firearm, let alone had the opportunity to do so in the realm of gaming. The blueprints belonging to Wu Tianju were entirely beyond his comprehension. Yet, that was inconsequential. It was merely a matter of acquiring the blueprints for a sniper rifle. Lu Yu, unable to create them himself, realized that in reality, sniper rifles had long been well developed. He could simply scour the internet for some blueprints, transcribe them, and present them to Wu Tianju for his study. After all, the only thing Wu Tianju lacked were a few crucial steps in the process. With reference to a completed design, Lu Yu was confident that his mentor, a master blacksmith of celestial caliber, could forge it without issue. As for the disparities between the abyss and reality, the two realms indeed harbored countless differences. Otherwise, the authorities would have long since transported nuclear weapons into the abyss, and humanity would not have been subjected to the ravages of foreign entities. However, such differences should not significantly manifest in the realm of firearms. Since there were no better alternatives at present, Lu Yu resolved to log off immediately. He exited the gaming pod, opened his computer, and searched for sniper rifle blueprints. Such items were rare, yet not impossible to find if one sought them out. However, when Lu Yu beheld the intricate array of lines on the blueprints, he suddenly realized a pressing issue. He was not skilled in drafting blueprints. To casually sketch such a meticulous weapon would likely only serve to confuse Wu Tianju further. Lu Yu slapped his forehead. Alas, he had grown impatient. Truly, concern had led to chaos. What was the point of logging off to search for this? Professional matters should be entrusted to professionals. Upon re-entering the online realm, Lu Yu discovered that the innocent youth and Ru Mingjiang Nan were gathered around him. Ru Mingjiang Nan waved a hand in front of Lu Yu's face and remarked, "Sister Chunqing, it seems the guild leader has logged off." "Indeed, it appears so. Little girl, what are you pondering?" I share the same thoughts as sister," the two young ladies chimed in with a mischievous giggle. "What are you two laughing about?" Lu Yu interjected suddenly, causing their laughter to abruptly cease. "Oh, nothing, they stammered. "Is the guild leader examining Master Wu's design blueprints?" Lu Yu, uninterested in discussing their earlier playful musings, promptly opened Li Wei's chat window. "Director Li, I have a favor to ask." He got straight to the point, without any preamble or formalities. "Brother Lu, feel free to speak. It's rare for you to reach out to me in the game, and I will certainly assist you as much as I can. It's not that it's rare for me to contact you, but rather that you are generally unable to assist me in this game. I seek a detailed blueprint of the Barret. Ideally, a faithful reproduction of the real-world design within the game." "The Barret? What do you need that blueprint for?" Li Wei inquired, his excitement palpable. "Our experimental department has already attempted and found that real-world weapons cannot be replicated in the abyss." Lu Yu briefly explained the situation regarding Wu Tianju. Li Wei's enthusiasm surged. "So, you mean your mentor might develop a powerful long-range weapon?" "Hard to say, but one must try even with a dead horse." "All right. I find your idea quite reasonable. Just wait, I'll arrange for someone to assist you." Li Wei's avatar dimmed momentarily before illuminating again. "Brother Lu, your mentor is at Jui City, correct?" "Indeed. Provide me with a specific coordinate. I'll send someone over immediately." "Wait, you've already drawn it so quickly?" "Not yet. I found someone skilled in drafting. They will arrive shortly. I believe it would be more effective to create the design in front of your mentor." Lu Yu nodded, agreeing with Li Wei's reasoning. "Just have him come to the Lord's mansion. I will await his arrival." Soon, Lu Yu stood at the entrance of the Lord's mansion. Before long, a sleepy-eyed youth approached, appearing no older than 16 or 17. His eyelids drooped as he struggled to remain alert, occasionally glancing at the buildings flanking him while murmuring, "Lord's mansion? Which one is the Lord's mansion?" The youth's ID above his head read Huan, "I wish to become wealthy." Such a simple name, yet it resonates with the aspirations of many. However, Lu Yu had no recollection of this name. It appears that this young lad is indeed the individual dispatched by Li Wei to create illustrations for Wu Tian. It is difficult to fathom that someone so youthful has already become a member of the Huan Bureau. Lu Yu approached and gently tapped the boy on the shoulder, intending to speak, only to witness the boy shakily draw a weapon from his bag, aiming it at Lu Yu. "Don't come any closer. If you do, I will shoot." Lu Yu, taken aback, thought to himself, does this child suffer from paranoia? However, it seemed he was wielding a handgun. Chapter 319. Huan, I desire wealthy Wei. "The director sent you, did he?" "Yes. Huan, I wish to become wealthy," the boy instinctively replied, raising his gaze to meet Lu Yu's smile. You are the esteemed Qingjiu?" Upon finally recognizing Lu Yu, the boy, known as Baofu, was suddenly filled with excitement. He could scarcely believe that the foremost figure of the human race, Qingjiu, was personally awaiting him here. Lu Yu nodded, observing the still half-asleep boy, unable to suppress a click of his tongue. It seemed that Li Wei had forcibly roused him from slumber just moments ago. Yet, one could indeed play games while resting in the abyss. Why was this boy still asleep in reality? Lu Yu himself hadn't enjoyed a simple night's sleep in quite some time. Such a waste. Seeing Lu Yu nod, Baofu's tense expression finally eased. Esteemed Qingjiu, my superior has instructed me to seek you out at the Lord's manor and await your directions. As Baofu spoke, he began to retract the handgun into his backpack. However, Lu Yu raised his hand. Would you kindly allow me a look at that handgun? Oh, of course. Baofu handed the firearm to Lu Yu, who scrutinized it closely. The handgun's details materialized before him. Handgun, bronze item, level, 20 attack, 500 class requirement. None. The information panel was quite straightforward. This was merely a bronze item, which, in the current market dominated by silver items, belonged to the lower tier. Moreover, it was merely a level 20 piece of equipment. Nonetheless, its attack power was an impressive 500, comparable to silver items, and it bore no class restrictions. Judging solely from this information, it could still serve as a viable secondary weapon. However, at the very bottom of this information panel, a small line of text caught his eye. Restriction: when attacking with this handgun, the firing speed is forcibly limited to 1 bullet every 5 seconds. Upon reading this limitation, Lu Yu found himself at a loss for words. 1 bullet every 5 seconds? Without casting skills and relying solely on swinging his staff, he could inflict damage multiple times within that time frame. Statistically, this handgun was utterly impractical. Yet, it was a handgun nonetheless. The Huan Bureau had managed to transport real-world firearms into the game. Though it was just a handgun, it symbolized a significant beginning. Is this handgun a standard issue for your Huan Bureau? Wealthy and proud, he proclaimed, this is my own creation. So far, it is solely mine. As he spoke, there was an unmistakable glimmer of fervor in his eyes, hinting at a profound passion for a certain forging technique. It became evident why Li Wei had sent this young lad to him. This youth was also engaged in the endeavor of translating real-world weaponry into the realm of gaming, a pursuit akin to the essence of Wu Tianzhu's work. Do you know why Director Li instructed you to seek me out? Asked Lu Yu. The young man shook his head. After he yanked me from my bed, he merely told me to find you, without elaborating further. Lu Yu pursed his lips, realizing he would have to reiterate the matter concerning Wu Tianzhu. He then produced the design blueprint of the Barrett drawn by Wu Tianzhu. My side mentor is a master armorer of heavenly rank. He aspires to develop a firearm of immense power, and this is his design. However, he encountered certain difficulties during the drafting process, which has led him to a state of mental distress. Thus, I hope you. Before Lu Yu could finish, he noticed the boy's eyes fixated intently on the Barrett blueprint. Without waiting for Lu Yu to complete his thoughts, he snatched the blueprint and began to examine it, murmuring to himself, so this can be done here. But why is this part designed in such a manner? Oh, yes, it is for this reason. Therefore, this section should indeed be correct, just as I imagined. Wealthy perused the blueprint with the fervor of a martial enthusiast who had just stumbled upon a legendary tome of skills, eagerly yearning to absorb every detail. Watching the entranced youth, Lu Yu felt a twinge of concern that he might succumb to madness like his mentor. Yet, he refrained from interrupting this state of focused intensity. For there is an inexplicable charm in those who are wholly dedicated. As nearly an hour elapsed, Wealthy's gaze finally lifted from the blueprint. His eyes now bloodshot and his demeanor exceedingly animated. Qingjiu, where's your mentor? May I meet him? Lu Yu nodded, explaining. The purpose of your visit is to create a complete Barrett blueprint in his presence. With that, Lu Yu led Wealthy into Wu Tianzhu's ward. Inside, Sun Miao and Ru Ming Jiangnan were engaged in a discussion regarding the apothecary's formulas, while the innocent youth assisted them. Lu Yu gestured towards Wu Tianzhu, who lay on the bed, seemingly exhausted from his earlier exertions. Nevertheless, he could still be heard muttering about adjustments needed for certain placements to be larger. Before Lu Yu could elaborate further, Wealthy had already dashed to Wu Tianzhu's side. Master Wu, regarding your blueprint, I have some uncertainties. Could you explain why this curve is designed in such a way? Upon hearing the mention of the blueprint, Wu Tianzhu's spirits were immediately reignited. Gunpowder. We need to incorporate gunpowder. Gunpowder? However, if we do not use gunpowder, what if we design it into something else? As he spoke, Baofu found several sheets of white paper and began sketching the shape of a bullet. Can we use this bullet? Is there a possibility to replace it with another design here? Wu Tianzhu's eyes widened, bound to the bed. He could only strain to tilt his head to observe Baofu's sketches. Lu Yu exchanged a glance with the innocent youth, who instantly understood. Together, they propped up Wu Tianzhu's bed so that its 4 legs rested against the wall. Bound to the bed, Wu Tianzhu resembled a convict suspended on a crucifix. Yet he showed no concern. His murmurs ceased, and his frantic gestures were replaced by a singular focus on the sketches drawn by the youthful Baofu. This position allowed him a clearer view of the designs being created. At this moment, Baofu had begun drafting the schematics for a Barrett, his movements swift. While Wu Tianzhu watched intently, not blinking, the two were enveloped in a profound silence, and even Sun Miao paused his activities. The only sound in the room was the scratching of the pen against the paper. Lu Yu waved his hand at the doorway, and the others understood immediately, quietly departing, with Ru Ming Jiang and gently closing the door behind them. Brother, do you truly believe your mentor can develop a Barrett? I don't know. I certainly hope he can. If not, he may remain in this state of madness indefinitely. Chapter 320. Falling Phoenix Ridge. Sun Miao shook his head, feeling helpless regarding Wu Tianzhu's current condition. Since Wu Tianzhu had fallen ill, He had not rested, the intense preparation of medicines and alchemy leaving him fatigued. Now that Wu Tianju had shown a rare glimmer of improvement, he had no intention of disturbing him further. He decided to observe whether Qing Jiu's ideas bore fruit. After exchanging a word with Lu Yu, he took his leave, as he too could not afford to be idle. In just a few hours, a multitude of players would emerge from the Golden Stone secret realm. Those who had battled tirelessly within would be in dire need of potions to replenish their strength. Sun Miao needed to hasten the production of sufficient potions. The finances of Jui City were currently far from optimistic. Ru Mingjiang then bid farewell to Lu Yu and accompanied Sun Miao. With a rare abundance of herbs available for practice, she sought to elevate her rank as an apothecary. Brother, now it's just the two of us. Do you wish to embark on an endeavor? Lu Yu retrieved the hunting order from his backpack, a token that had resided within for nearly a month. Initially, it was intended for immediate use once the conditions were met. But various circumstances had delayed its activation until now. Let us go and accomplish something significant. With the hunting order in hand, Lu Yu stepped into the Lord's Hall. Sun Hanyu sat at the table, attending to matters at hand. Lu Yu recalled that when he previously visited Sun Hanyu, she was either asleep or reclining on her chair, displaying her slender, fair thighs while playfully toying with her summoned beast. Now, as the city lord, that leisurely life had vanished, replaced by the burdens of paperwork. Reflecting on this, Lu Yu felt a twinge of sympathy. Upon noticing Lu Yu's approach, Sun Hanyu set aside her tasks. How is old Wu faring? I believe his madness stems from an obsessive pursuit of firearm development. I just consulted an expert in this field. If we collaborate to create the gun he designed, it should help. Sun Hanyu nodded, reassured by her disciple's confidence. Is there anything else you need? Lu Yu produced the stag token. Master, I require my own territory. Oh, the stag token. Sun Hanyu exclaimed, her excitement palpable. I never anticipated we could expand the domain of our city so swiftly. My dear disciple, you are unaware that the territory of Jui City has long been encroached upon by Lingfeng City. Now, with the stag token, I can assertively claim a disputed area as stag territory. Once you secure that land, Jui City's domain can significantly extend outward. Seeing Sun Hanyu's expression, Lu Yu suddenly felt his earlier melancholy was mere self-indulgence. Sun Hanyu, as city lord, was thriving. His concern for her was unwarranted. From her earlier remarks, it seemed she intended to establish the designated territory at the border between Jui City and Lingfeng City. Master, if my territory is too far from Jui City, traveling back and forth will be inconvenient. Not to worry, I will have Elder Qi construct a teleportation array for you. Lu Yu's eyes brightened at the prospect of having a teleportation array for his territory. It was simply splendid. Typically, territories lack their own teleportation arrays, making those closer to the main city more desirable. He recalled the territory he encountered upon arriving at the dwarf clan, which lacked a teleportation formation. Consequently, after Lu Yu annihilated that dwarf faction, they were forced to trek back to Jinchang City on foot. Sun Hanyu's offer to establish a teleportation formation for his territory was a boon beyond measure. Do you have any other requests? Could you also have the old village chief create a spring for my territory? The remaining materials are in my backpack. Sure, I'll speak to him about it. However, I recall that among those materials, something crucial was missing. Ah, yes, the elven spring. I can handle that myself. Lu Yu had already devised a substitute for the elven spring. Though its efficacy would be considerably diminished, it would suffice. Very well, as long as you can manage. Sun Hanyu remarked, her fingertips lightly tapping the stag token, as she delineated an area on the map. System notification, player, Qingjio, has utilized the stag token, designating Luofeng Ridge as a contested territory. The territorial conflict will commence in 4 hours and last for 6 hours. Sun Hanyu presented the location of Luofeng Ridge to Lu Yu. This is the territory I have allocated for you. I have also included the plains on both sides of Luofeng Ridge. This is the largest area I can designate within my authority. Moreover, I have set the initiation and duration of the contest to the minimum to ensure you can secure the territory as soon as possible. By the way, you should be able to capture it, right? We wouldn't want to let others gain the advantage. Lu Yu smiled faintly. Minter, do you not trust your disciple? Sun Hanyu chuckled. Her disciple was indeed a source of great reassurance. Go take a look around the vicinity first. After the contest concludes, I will accompany Lao Se and Lao Pian to construct a teleportation array and a spring for you. All right, Lu Yu agreed, departing the hall alongside the innocent youth. In a side room, Wu Tianju and another individual, an elder, were engrossed in studying the Barret. It appeared they were not going to pause anytime soon. Lu Yu located Luofeng Ridge on the map, intending to scout the terrain first. One must exert full effort even when facing a rabbit. Lu Yu had no desire for carelessness to lead to failure midway, should he encounter another siege by 1,000,000 players. There would be no second Hulu Valley for him to rely upon. Brother, should we have our people set up defenses at Luofeng Ridge in advance? No need. We still have 4 hours until it begins. There's no rush. It's a rare opportunity to open the Golden Stone secret realm. Let us gather all the benefits we can from within. Lu Yu now possessed over 100,000 summoned beasts, granting him increased confidence. He mounted his steed, cradling the innocent youth in front of him. It wasn't that Lu Yu harbored any ulterior motives. It was simply that his current speed enhancement was so swift that if the innocent youth rode alone, she would be left far behind. The steed galloped swiftly, soon reaching Luofeng Ridge. Just as Sun Hanyu had described, it lay at the junction of Juyi City and Lingfeng City, albeit closer to Juyi City. The newly established secondary main city could not compare in territorial scope to the long-standing Lingfeng City. Lu Yu halted his steed, observing the surroundings. He quickly furrowed his brow upon noticing a settlement atop Luofeng Ridge. Chapter 321. Shiliang Village. A plaque outside the village bore 3 prominent characters, Shiliang Village. This settlement resembled the previously established Juyi Village, but appeared significantly larger in scale. Such camps were common in border areas, often possessing unique characteristics. For instance, Juyi Village was known for its green cowhide from the rear mountains. In the past, Lu Yu would have eagerly sought a friendly exchange with the village chief, hoping to trade for some of their distinctive goods. However, this territory has now been designated as the stag hunting grounds. The indigenous inhabitants here have naturally become adversaries of Lu Yu. If I am not mistaken, the Lord's deed should reside with the chieftain of this village. With only a few hours remaining before the commencement of the stag war, it is unlikely that the chieftain, who is not Sun Hanyu, would readily hand over the deed to Lu Yu. Let us proceed inside and have a word with the chieftain. The innocent youth nodded obediently, and the two of them entered a stealth mode, boldly striding into the Shiliang village. The guards at the entrance detected no anomalies, instead stifling yawns. On the other side, one guard hastily reminded, "Hey, don't slack off. The chieftain has declared that we are now part of the stag hunting grounds, and soon, many will come to attack us. Let them come. I've come to terms with it. No matter who arrives, I shall simply surrender with both hands raised. After all, I am merely a gatekeeper. It matters not who I watch for." Shoo. If the chieftain hears you, your life is in peril. You speak as if you think differently. I have heard that during the last stag war, the number of participants reached a staggering 1 million. 1 million. Our village has barely over 10,000 souls, old and young combined. What a farce. Well, I thought I was hiding quite well, but it seems your eyes are sharper than I imagined. In truth, I believe that rather than languishing in a village devoid of value, it would be wiser to surrender early and have a chance to become part of the official territory, thereby avoiding the constant fear of military raids. It is not that my eyesight is exceptional. It is merely that you were asleep while on duty and spoke in your dreams. What did I say? You exclaimed, "Oh, Mayor Sun Hanyu, come and conquer our village. I wish to be your most loyal spotted dog. I long to kneel at your feet and kiss your exquisite toes." Damn, I would never utter such words. Do not slander me, believe it or not. As Lu Yu and the innocent youth passed by the two guards, they shook their heads at the dialogue. The innocent youth cautiously lifted his head and asked, "Brother, are all men like this? Peculiar? Do they enjoy licking girls' feet?" Lu Yu sighed. You yourself called it peculiar. He is merely an exception. I believe the majority of people are quite normal. Do men enjoy being licked? Upon entering the village, Lu Yu observed individuals clad in a uniform distributing weapons and gathering the villagers. Others stood elevated, vocally rallying the troops. Yet, the assembled crowd appeared rather disinterested, lacking the tension and excitement typically associated with the eve of battle. Most here seemed reluctant to participate in the chieftain's defense of the territory. At this moment, the distinction between the chieftain and the leader became starkly apparent. Although Sun Hanyu's previous assembly was modest in size, it boasted remarkable cohesion. During the last stag war, every villager was actively preparing for combat. Undoubtedly, the imminent establishment of the city plays a significant role in this situation. Yet it is also undeniably attributable to Sun Hanyu's generous treatment of the villagers. It is worth noting that nearly all the income generated by the Qingskin cattle has been reinvested into the village by Sun Hanyu, with little retained for personal gain. In stark contrast, while the Shiliang village boasts considerable size, it lacks the essential cohesion one would expect within a community. Even now, during this critical juncture of survival, the majority of the inhabitants seem preoccupied with thoughts on how to swiftly surrender in exchange for better assurances. Lu Yu shook his head as he and the innocent youth navigated past these individuals, making their way directly to the village chief's grand hall. The location of the chief's hall was unmistakable, as the entire Shiliang village featured only this singular four-story edifice. It resembled a castle, not only positioned at the heart of the village but also adorned with intricate carvings and gilded decorations that rendered it incongruous with the surrounding structures. Lu Yu could not help but marvel. Sun Hanyu's former residence paled in comparison to this, appearing almost like a slum beside such opulence. The castle's exterior was equally fortified, with rows of uniformly attired guards surrounding it, ensuring its security. Each guard wielded a weapon, vigilant in their duty. These individuals were likely the regular troops of Shiliang village, constituting the core of the chief's personal army. However, their expressions suggested a lack of enthusiasm for their task, with hints of dissatisfaction evident in their demeanor. Lu Yu and the innocent youth effortlessly passed by them and entered the castle. It must be said that the youth's innate talent proved to be nothing short of miraculous in such circumstances. A thought suddenly struck Lu Yu. If the innocent youth were to enter a state of stealth, would the arrows of the abyssal archer, known for its precision, still be able to locate her? The youth's stealth ability is undeniably undetectable, while the abyssal archer's talent is to lock onto a target. Would an undetectable target still be subject to such locking? This conundrum bore resemblance to a paradox, akin to a spear against a shield. If, after entering stealth, the abyssal archer's arrows could not lock onto her, a method for countering the archer would emerge. Lu Yu silently committed this thought to memory. The presence of the abyssal archer loomed like an invisible specter beside Lu Yu, instilling a sense of pressure that was even greater than that imposed by the son of the underworld. After all, the sun's power stemmed merely from his elevated level, whereas the abyssal archer could strike unexpectedly from an unknown location. Lost in contemplation, Lu Yu and the innocent youth traversed the castle's garden and grassy expanse. Arriving at the grand hall, the maids seemed oblivious to the impending conflict, continuing their cleaning duties. A figure resembling a steward wielded a whip, chastising the idle servants. Lu Yu shook his head. The architectural style here appeared Western, yet how could a Western steward personally wield a whip within the castle to discipline the maidservants? The aristocrats are particularly meticulous about decorum. However, Lu Yu was not inclined to seize the butler's hand in pursuit of some moral righteousness to rescue the maid. The matters of this castle bore no relevance to him, save for the master of the castle who held the lordship deed. Chapter 322. The castle. The first floor of the castle lacked the presence of the chieftain. Lu Yu, accompanied by the innocent young man, ascended to the second floor, where they encountered only a cadre of maids and servants. They were compelled to ascend once more, reaching the third floor, which was markedly less populated. Gone were the bustling servants and the butler. Outside one room, a group of girls, modestly wrapped in towels, stood in line. Lu Yu furrowed his brow. Were they queuing for a bath? He strode directly toward the room. As he passed the girls, the innocent youth scrutinized them one by one, muttering softly, "This one is younger than me. This one is also younger. This one is quite large." Lu Yu pressed his lips together, feigning ignorance. At that moment, the door swung open, and a girl rushed out, her face concealed and her eyes red. A man's furious voice erupted from within. "Are the people outside dead? Hurry up and send the next one in." Lu Yu glanced inside to see a man sprawled naked on the bed, remnants of crimson staining the sheets. The man continued to bellow, "Get in quickly. If you fail to serve this chieftain properly, I will have you all killed. Damn it. That wench Sun Hanyu deserves to die. Was it a crime to merely gaze at her chest a couple of times? Now she has transformed my territory into a hunting ground. Just wait. Once I strike a deal with the Lord here, my first target will be the city of righteousness. I will make you gasp and scream beneath me." The imagery he conjured was indeed the dream of a man. Listening to the vulgarities spewing from this man's mouth, especially directed at Sun Hanyu, ignited a surge of fury within Lu Yu. He halted the girl who was about to enter and stepped into the room himself, shutting the door behind him. "How dare you defy me when I am still the chieftain?" The man continued to roar, but soon he noticed another man had entered his chamber. "Why is there a man here? I distinctly remember this visit was to be devoid of males. Yet, a change of taste might not be unwelcome. This one has a rather fair visage. Come here, clean this place thoroughly. Make sure to lick." Suddenly, the man felt a sharp pain in his lower region, only to witness a vital part of his anatomy being severed from his body. The innocent young man, brandishing a dagger, flung the severed piece aside and disdainfully wiped the blade on the bloodstained sheets. "Who are you?" The pain jolted the man back to a semblance of rationality as he clutched his wound, gazing at Lu Yu in terror. He did not see Lu Yu's ID, but the young man's identification remained visible. The term pure-hearted youth may lack the resounding fame of fine wine, yet the profession of shadow assassin is nearly universally recognized. The abyss profession is limited in number, having long been disseminated among humanity. The man's countenance turned pale with fright. You are here for the deer hunting war, right? Please, do not kill me. I possess a land deed, right here," he exclaimed, retrieving a land deed from the side. "If you allow me to remain the lord of this castle, this deed shall be yours, and I will have the villagers assist you in protecting the territory." Lu Yu did not glance at the deed, but raised his staff instead. With a fierce swing, the staff struck the man's head with no spells unleashed. Transforming into a melee mage akin to Gandalf, Lu Yu swung the staff down upon the man lying on the bed. At that moment, the advantages of a warrior profession became evident. Casting spells lacked the visceral and tactile experience of a blade piercing flesh. Lu Yu had already drawn blood from the man's head, yet the damage remained minimal. The man rolled off the bed, his eyes blazing with fury, the ferocity within him unleashed. As a level 79 chieftain, though he had yet to undergo the second transfer, he was not one to be trifled with. Just as he prepared to strike at Lu Yu, the latter waved his hand, summoning 4 wraith warriors who promptly pinned the man to the ground. The man struggled with all his might, yet no amount of effort could break free from the grasp of the wraith warriors. How could a level 79 strength contend against 4 level 75 summoned beasts? Lu Yu ceased his physical assault with the staff, turned, and exited the room. Before leaving, he summoned several goblins and then closed the door behind him. Soon, the room echoed with the man's heart-wrenching screams. The girls at the doorway exchanged glances, hesitant to move as they regarded Lu Yu and the pure-hearted youth. "Leave now, dress yourselves, and return whence you came," Lu Yu commanded. The girls, feeling as if a great weight had been lifted, hurriedly descended the stairs. "Brother, the land deed," The pure-hearted youth presented it to Lu Yu. This was obtained while Lu Yu had been relentlessly striking the man. Lu Yu accepted the deed, which bore no bloodstains and appeared quite pristine. Brother, what was that chieftain's name? The youth inquired. I did not pay attention. He does not deserve a name, Lu Yu replied. As the two descended the staircase, chaos reigned within the castle. The boy who had fled earlier recounted the events that had transpired, causing the inhabitants of the castle to flee in disarray. Particularly, the steward who had previously wielded a whip understood that their greatest reliance had vanished. If they did not flee now, they would soon find themselves at the receiving end of that very whip. However, just as they were about to exit the castle, they encountered a line of servants standing at the entrance, their gazes cold and menacing. Lu Yu paid no heed to the impending turmoil. He and the pure-hearted youth stepped out of the castle